mentioned, Albert has hit Scott Erickson hard, as have a number of these Cleveland hitters. Julio Franco, the DH, hitting fifth. Manny Ramirez, who homered yesterday, is the right fielder. Jose Vizcaino back in the lineup today against a right-hander. Sandy Alomar, the catcher, and Omar Vizquel is the shortstop, hitting ninth. And on the mound for the Baltimore Orioles, the man who finished the year in a hot streak, but also a man who got clobbered by Cleveland more than once this year. In fact, the last time he faced them, he matched up with Orel Hershiser. Final score, Hershiser and the Indians 11, Erickson and the Orioles 1.
Well, they're similar pitchers, and they're both sinker slider pitchers. I think Hershiser has a little better control, and he will change speeds a little more often. But Erickson has the better stuff of the two, meaning his sinker is just a heavy sinker and a little livelier than Hershiser's, but both very similar. They'll have to keep the ball down with the sinker and use their sliders. And let's take a look at the defense that will be playing behind Ripken today. Behind Erickson. Ripken yesterday made a great play with runners at second and third base. The game was still in doubt. Anytime you're playing the Cleveland Indians, even though you have a 9-4 lead, the game is still in doubt. But Ripken made a fine play on Albert Bell with runners at second and third that saved a couple of runs and kept the Indians at bay.
Albert just crushed that ball, and Cal reached out very calmly almost, played a real tough, not quite just a short hop, a little 6-inch bounce it into the glove. And again, as you say, very big play. So here we go. Game 2. And as we have discussed, big, especially for Cleveland, for obvious reasons. They're down 1-0 in a best-of-5, but also big for Baltimore heading to Cleveland for the rest of the series after today. Erickson's first pitch is outside for ball 1. Lofton yesterday, 1 for 5. His only hit, an infield hit. It drove in a run. But always so important to keep him off the base paths. Zeal very shallow at third. And that's a foul off the left field side and back out of play.
Lofton has also had good success against Erickson. He's 16 for 42. That's .381. He's also hit a couple of home runs off of Erickson. So Erickson has his work cut out for him. These guys have had some success against him.
And there's ball 2 down and in. Well, the last time that Erickson faced the Cleveland Indians was at Jacobs Field, August the 2nd. Lofton had a single, a triple, and a 2-run homer against him. Erickson gave up 6 runs in 4 1/3 that day. Down the left field line, this too will twist back foul and in amongst the spectators. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The count. And the big crowd here at Camden Yards on a rainy day, a 37-minute rain delay officially before we were able to get it started here. And a slider misses down and in 3-2. You mentioned Erickson changing speed. Usually he's basically a sinker and a slider, and he has a changeup but almost never uses it.
Right.
3-2 the count. There's that sinker. Erickson will take care of it in time.
When you get the ball down like Erickson did on this particular pitch, and it's sinking as hard as it does, it's almost impossible to get it in the air. You see Lofton right on top of it. Erickson does a great job of getting off the mound, charging it, and making a good throw. Probably threw a sinker to first base as well. Nice catch there by Palmeiro.
So Lofton is gone. And here is Kevin Seitzer. Seitzer yesterday also 1 for 5. In fact, the first 5 hitters in Cleveland's batting order yesterday had a combined 4 hits in 22 at-bats, and all of the hits were singles. A strike to the outside, and you see that 93 miles an hour on the Judd's gun. And Erickson, these last few starts, has been throwing much harder than in his earlier starts, and he had the same phenomenon last year. Maybe 5-6 miles an hour faster than he was much of the rest of the year. That is a fair ball. Palmeiro thought it was foul, and the ball lodges, or it ricochets off the tarp over there.
It appeared to me, John, that ball hit the side of the bag, which obviously makes it a fair ball, and that's why Palmeiro did not argue. But it did appear that it hits the side of the bag. That's a sinker down and away. Good hitting there by Seitzer. Seitzer will do this. He fights the ball off, goes down. That ball does hit the side corner of the bag, and it bounces away, and it almost lodged in the tarp, but it finally came out, and he's at second with a double.
The way Bonilla reacted to it on the camera, I thought that it had lodged under there. which would have made it a ground rule double, but then it came out. So here is Jim Thome, and the power is up already. Hershiser has done something that none of these first 5 hitters was able to do yesterday. That's get an extra base hit. Jim Thome, he was 1 for 4 yesterday, but remember, he had 38 home runs during the regular season. And a strike. Now yesterday we had that real high sky, a cloudless bright blue sky, and it created some problems, especially early in the game, for some of the infielders and outfielders on high pop flies and that sort of thing. But right now we've got a fog, kind of a high fog over the Camden Yards, so there shouldn't be any problems like that today. And strike 2. Slider from Erickson. 0-2 the count.
Well, you talked about the fact he doesn't throw his changeup a lot. The first pitch to Thome was a changeup. He comes right back with an overhand curveball. So 2 off-speed pitches in a row. He was thrown to start off his bat with Thome.
Albert Bell on deck. Hershiser at second. Did he swing? Yes, he did. Strike 3. He chased that high one out of the strike zone, as he did a couple of times yesterday as well.
Thome is very vulnerable to the high fastball with 2 strikes. He tries to check his swing, but not in time. But he will swing at that pitch quite often if you get ahead of him in the count, and especially 2 strikes, 1-2 on that, 0-2 on that particular pitch.
Well, that's one big out, but here's another one. A candidate for MVP again this year, Albert Bell, 48 homers, 148 runs batted in. He led the league in RBIs. Hershiser at second, 2 down. To shortstop, Ripken waits for it, and that ends the inning. So a 1-out double by Hershiser, but Erickson gets off the hook. Anderson, Zeal, and Alomar. The Orioles manager, his ball club set a major league record during the regular season with 257 home runs, an astounding figure. And then yesterday they hit 4 in their first postseason game in 13 years. Brady Anderson, who led it off yesterday with a home run for Baltimore, leads it off today on the FedEx Orioles lineup. Todd Zeal, third base. Roberto Alomar, second base. Rafael Palmeiro is at first base hitting cleanup. Bobby Bonilla, who had the big grand slam yesterday that broke the game open in right field. Cal Ripken, 3 hits yesterday at short. Eddie Murray, the former Cleveland Indian, the DH. B.J. Surhoff in his first postseason game, he hit 2 home runs for Baltimore. And Mark Parent, who always catches for Scott Erickson, is in there today with Erickson on the mound. And pitching for Cleveland, the 38-year-old right-hander Orel Hershiser, 8-1 in postseason play and a 15-game winner in the regular season this year.
Well, and he was nicknamed the Bulldog by Tommy Lasorda. Tommy said he is a bulldog when you give him the ball in this type of situation. Again, he throws similar to Erickson in that he throws a sinker, he throws a slider, he throws a curveball, and he throws a changeup. And he mixes speeds very well, and he will change speeds anytime. And let's take a look at the defense behind Hershiser. Vizquel and Vizcaino up the middle are 2 very good defensive players. Vizcaino has been out. He doesn't play every day anymore. He did not start yesterday because left-hander David Wells was on the mound, and even though he's a switch hitter, he has not hit right-handed lately because he's had a sore left hand. So he's back in there today. And, you know, John, I was watching yesterday's ball game, and I'm thinking maybe they should walk Brady Anderson to lead off the game. I mean, he's had 13 home runs leading off the ball game this year.
Including yesterday. He broke Bobby Bonds' record in the final game of the season. First ball swinging, base hit.
Well, he goes up there to pick on the first pitch, and he gets a fastball. He lines it to right field. But, hey, maybe that's a victory if you're looking at it from Cleveland's side. Good pitcher by Hershiser. That was a sinker. You could see the rotation, the ball moving down and away, and Brady reaches out and lines it to right field for a base hit.
And I think a good look at the approach that Anderson has taken most of this year. A little shorter, more compact swing, and that's the approach he took all year, and the home runs went up instead of that big swing that he used to have. Now Todd Zeal. Zeal finished the year in a slump, but had 2 hits yesterday. Go figure. And he takes a strike from Orel Hershiser. Now Zeal certainly knows Hershiser from his days in the National League, 5 for 19 against Hershiser in his career. While in the National League, the Cardinals and the Phillies, also a brief time with the Cubs. That's a strike, and it's 0-2.
And that's what you will see Hershiser do, especially against right-handed pitchers. First was a sinker in, and then he throws a sinker right over the outside corner. Now what he'll try to do is nibble enough to get Zeal to swing at a pitch out of the strike zone and get the ground ball that he needs right now.
And that sinker misses. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Zeal. No score in the game. Last of the first. Anderson has started the inning with a single. And Davy Johnson yesterday, early in the ball game especially, had his ball club on the run. He had runners moving, hit and run plays, that sort of thing. A little bit more than he had the last couple of months of the season when he said, hey, the American League, you can't give away outs. You got to go for the big inning all the time. Back to Hershiser. Could be 2. The second one is killed. The first 2. Double play.
And that's what makes Hershiser so tough. If he gets ahead of you and he needs the ground ball, you're going to hit the ground ball. And unfortunately for Zeal, he grounds this one back to Hershiser. He didn't hit it that sharply. See, there's a sinker, and you cannot get that ball in the air. And he hits it right back to Hershiser. Hershiser fundamentally very sound as a fielding pitcher. Hits Vizquel perfectly, and he turns it over at first base.
2 down, nobody on, and here is Roberto Alomar coming up against Hershiser now. And I'm sure, as you know by now, tomorrow morning, the league president's office in New York at 10 a.m. they'll have the hearing about the appeal of Alomar over the suspension. And of course, this was part of the agreement apparently between baseball and the major league umpires. And there's a possibility, as you mentioned on your telecast on NBC last night, Joe, that Alomar might end up starting that suspension in this series when the 2 teams get to Cleveland.
I anticipate that happening after the hearing. And the sooner Roberto Alomar serves his sentence, the sooner he'll be able to get on with his career as a baseball player, the sooner we'll be able to stop talking about it. Otherwise, it's going to fester from now until next year.
And that's down and in. Talking to the umpires here at Camden Yards before the game today, and they all seem to agree with the notion that what their actions yesterday had to do with, in large part, was simply that they felt, number one, the league's response in terms of the severity of the penalty was just inadequate for the offense, which none of them had ever seen before. Spitting in an umpire's face. Alomar takes down an in ball 3.
That was my statement on Sunday, John, when I first found out about him. I said the punishment does not fit the crime. And I think the umpires felt the same way. And, you know, again, we need to get this resolved and kind of remove the black eye that baseball has had in the last 4 or 5 days.
And that's fouled on the left field line. Now, the Orioles today are taking the approach that they, as an organization, don't really want to talk about this issue very much because it's all going to come down tomorrow.
Right.
The official line is that they'll wait to see what the ruling is tomorrow, and then they'll abide by what is decided after the meeting tomorrow in New York. So we'll see. Then one thing is for sure, whatever happens, you'll know about it right here on ESPN. Roberto Alomar with 2 down and nobody on. First inning, no score in the game. Rafael Palmeiro is on deck. Hershiser stumbled a little bit there.
You know, that's tough to do, though, John. It's kind of like if you're a golfer, when you catch your club going back, more than likely you'll go ahead and swing. It's hard to stop. Hershiser, complete control. That tells you that he does have good balance out there. He was able to stop. Even though he lost his balance on the footing, but he was in balance.
And ball 4. With 2 down, Alomar is aboard. And now Rafael Palmeiro. Now, Albert Bell led the league in RBIs last year. And Rafael Palmeiro finished 4th in the league in RBIs. And yesterday, he doubled home a run for the Orioles in the 3rd inning against Charles Nagy. Now, last night, we've got Bell, the number 1 RBI man here. And you've got Palmeiro, number 4. You see Charles Nagy watching today's ball game. Last night in New York, you saw Juan Gonzalez,
right,
who is a strong MVP candidate, and he turned that game around at Yankee Stadium. And there's ball 1 to Palmeiro.
I think if you're Charles Nagy, you're sitting there today, watch the way Hershiser pitches against the Orioles, because you figure you're going to have another opportunity to pitch against them. So you're saying to yourself, I want to make sure that I follow the pattern that he has success with and stay away from the problems that he has.
And it is 2-0. Now, the last time Palmeiro faced Hershiser in this ballpark in late July, in the 6th inning of a ball game with the Orioles already ahead 6-2, Palmeiro hit a grand slam. I think it might have hit into some barbecue sauce. Boog's Barbecue out there in Utah Street. And that's in there for a called strike. 2-1 to Palmeiro.
That was a very unusual pitch right there from Hershiser. 2-0 fastball almost in the middle of the plate. I think it surprised Palmeiro, because normally Hershiser will not give in. Now watch this pitch, fastball, and it's right in the middle of the plate.
Belt high.
Yeah, you like the ball up. If you're hitting against Hershiser, you want him to get the ball up.
Alomar back to the bag at first.
Normally Hershiser will not give in. He will still try to make a perfect pitch, 2-0, and he gets a lot of hitters to chase pitches out of the strike zone when they're sitting on the fastball.
Seitzer on the bag with Alomar. Now Sandy Alomar, the Cleveland catcher, will go out and have a conversation with Orel Hershiser. Hershiser last year finally lost a postseason game in the World Series against Atlanta. He made 2 starts, and each time against Greg Maddux, who had only lost 2 games all year, and he beat Maddux in one of those ball games. But Maddux beat him also, the only time Hershiser has ever lost in any postseason game. He was the American League Championship Series most valuable player last year. He went 2-0 against the hard-hitting Seattle Mariners. Sinker too low. 3-1 to Palmeiro.
John, I think that conversation that Sandy Alomar had with Hershiser was because he noticed something in Palmeiro's stance. I think Palmeiro may have been a little closer to the plate than he normally is, and I think Sandy went out to tell him that because he wanted to call a fastball inside, and Hershiser shook him off.
There goes Alomar. No, he was bluffing. He started and then stopped, and it was ball 4 to Palmeiro. Back-to-back walks. And now you hear the roar begin as yesterday's hero, Bobby Bonilla, who hit the grand slam, is coming up. Bobby Bonilla, the Orioles' only non-pitcher ever to have hit a grand slam in postseason play. Dave McNally and Mike Cuellar, 2 very fine pitchers, are the only others ever to have done it. Right through the legs of Seitzer. It was right to him and through the legs. Alomar will score the first run of the game. Palmeiro to third base. 1-0 Baltimore.
Well, they had a last-minute change over there at first base. Julio Franco was going to start at first base, and Seitzer was going to DH. At the last minute, they changed Seitzer and put him in the field, and this ball goes through his legs. And remember one thing about Franco. He was a second baseman. He's always been an excellent defensive first baseman, so that change may have cost him, and the change was made because Franco has a bad hamstring and the field is a little wet. And there's Julio Franco on the bench. Again, very good first baseman because he learned to play at second base. Good hands, you know.
Good second baseman should be a good first baseman.
You're exactly right. Also, bigger glove to work with.
Actually played a lot of shortstop, too, when he first went to Cleveland.
And that's not to say Seitzer's not any good, but, I mean, he's not used to playing over there nearly as much as Franco is, and, that's the point.
Cal Ripken coming up, and I should say when Franco first went to Cleveland years ago, the first time. Here's Cal Ripken, 3 hits yesterday. 2 down, 2 on. An error by Seitzer has given the Orioles the lead in the first inning again. Popped up by Ripken, who has never had a hit against Hershiser. 0 for 12 lifetime against him. And the count is 0-1.
Well, if you're an Orioles fan, you say, well, he's due because you know Ripken's a good hitter, and he makes adjustments to pitchers.
Ripken, one of 4 Orioles hitters with better than 100 RBIs. And he finished the year swinging the bat well. Check swing and a slider. Foul ball, strike 2. So quickly Hershiser ahead of Ripken, 0-2.
And one other thing about the ball that went through Hershiser, it wasn't like it was a routine ground ball either. The ball was ripped down hard to him at first base by Bonilla.
He really smoked it. Bobby, suddenly after that grand slam yesterday, looks pretty confident up there. He's at first, Palmeiro at third, 2 down in the dirt. Nice save by Alomar with that runner at third. Just got to keep the ball from getting past him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Palmeiro, who drew a 2-out walk, is at third base. And Bonilla, who hit the shot through the legs of Hershiser, is at first base. Both are ready to go in anything here with 2 down. Ripken in that new stance. Look out, that hit him. Hit him near the elbow on the forearm, and the bases are loaded for the once and former Oriole and also the former Cleveland Indian. Eddie Murray is coming up.
Well, Hershiser is one of the few pitchers in the major leagues. He gets you 0-2. Sometimes he'll waste 2 pitches. He went down and away on a waste pitch. He tried to come back inside just to waste this so he could set up a breaking ball away, and Ripken could not get out of the way, so it hits him on the elbow, and now he's in real trouble. How many grand slams does he have?
Only one man in the history of Major League Baseball has hit more grand slams than Eddie Murray, and that was Lou Gehrig, 23. Murray, with 2 more with the Orioles this year, now has 19 grand slams. Strike, beautiful pitch, knee high right in the corner. There's Palmeiro at third base. He reached in a walk. Bonilla reached in the error. He's at second. Ripken reached, being hit by a pitch. He's at first. They put together a rally with 2 down and nobody on without even getting a hit. Too low. Murray has faced Hershiser. And of course, when Murray was in the National League with the New York Mets and Hershiser was with the Dodgers, and overall, Eddie is 5 for 19 against him. You see the career numbers. The only the 3rd man in history with a combination of 500 homers and 3,000 hits. 1 and 1 to Murray. He had 22 homers and 79 batted in for the Orioles this year. And now Alomar out to talk to Hershiser again.
Well, the Indians realize how important this inning is. You know, if they can get out of this with only down 1 run, they're going to be very happy. So they have to make sure that they're on the same wavelength. Hershiser has to be thinking the same as Alomar Jr. in this situation.
2 and 1.
And one other thing to remember, not only has Eddie Murray hit 19 grand slams, but he's had great success hitting with the bases loaded.
Over 400 is his batting average during his career with the bases loaded. Fouled it off his foot.
Good pitch there by Hershiser. That ball really sunk right at the last second. It looked like it was going to be a fat pitch for Eddie, but the ball really moves. Now watch this movement. See it right there. It moves right in on him just a little bit, and Eddie couldn't get to it.
A little subtle thing, but you saw Eddie, and he was prepared to launch it.
Yes, he was. Well, it looked like a good pitch that he could attack, and then that late movement caused him to have to jerk at it.
So now 2 and 2. Murray will have to be protective at the plate. 3 men on, 2 men down, 1 run in for the Orioles. He struck him out. So Orel Hershiser comes back to get Eddie Murray, his former teammate, and the Orioles get just Baltimore. Game 2 of the American League Division Series between the Orioles and Cleveland Indians. It is 1-0 Baltimore as Julio Franco leads off here in the second against Scott Erickson. Sinker for a called strike. Manny Ramirez will follow, and then Sandy Alomar. Franco, 1 hit yesterday, 1 for 4, a single. 322 during the regular season, although he had some injury problems, some hamstring problems, limited his availability the second half of the year. Just missing at the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Another full day of baseball. A baseball fans' delight here this week. That is strike 2. Later, we'll have coverage of the first game between the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. A lot of people really looking forward to that series with some great pitchers on both clubs. And then tonight, crucial game for the Yankees at home against Texas. We'll have the coverage of the Braves and Dodgers right here on ESPN. And then tonight at 8 o'clock, the Rangers and Yanks on Fox. Ball the ball. 2-2 the count. David Wells can relax today. Game 1 pitching star for the Orioles. Got the win. 2-2 to Franco. He struck him out. Speaking of the strikeout, what a big pitch for Orel Hershiser with Eddie Murray at the plate. And the bases loaded.
And here's a changeup. Don't ever expect Hershiser to throw a strike when he gets ahead of you in the count. Watch, you can see this changeup. Look at the expression on his face. And, I mean, he has to be relieved because that was a big pitch for him just to get out of the first inning down 1 run.
Give it that just another day at the office look, though. I mean, he threw 26 pitches in that first inning. Even though he got out of it with just the 1 run, it took a toll. Here now is Ramirez, and he takes the breaking ball for a strike. Ramirez, a second inning home run yesterday. He hit 33 home runs during the season. The infield plays into pull. The outfield, though, pretty much straight away. Right center and shallow. Bonilla. Out number 2. Ramirez gone. Big crowd at Camden Yards. The Orioles were the best drawing team in the American League this year. More than 3.6 million paid admissions. Cleveland probably would have beaten that, but they just didn't have enough seats. They sold out every game of the year at Jacobs Field. And, of course, this series will move to Jacobs Field come Friday. Here's Sandy Alomar. 2 down, nobody on. And that's an example of Erickson at his best right there, Joe. Right. What movement. And it reminds you, just as you said, of Hershiser.
Yeah, great movement. This batter is very important. I mean, it may sound trivial here, but if he can get them out 1, 2, 3 and get Hershiser back under pressure, back out there pitching, I mean, it helps his teammates, because that puts all the pressure back on Hershiser. He just struggled out of the first inning. If you could go 1, 2, 3 and put him back out there right away, it really helps your ball club.
Well, it looks like he'll go back out there shortly. Erickson will take it himself. So not much of a rest for the 38-year-old Hershiser. 1-0 Baltimore. B.J. Surhoff with his 2 homers yesterday. 0-0. We go to the last of the second from Camden Yards. And it's the postseason stage for more than just the players, apparently. B.J. Surhoff at long last into postseason play. And yesterday in his first at-bat, goodbye. And, of course, he wasn't finished. Later in the ball game, just for good measure, he did it again. That was the 10th run for Baltimore in a 10-4 victory.
But did you notice one thing, John? Those pitches looked almost in the same identical spot, down and in. You do not want to ever pitch left-handed hitters down and in.
Well, we'll pay special attention now to see how Hershiser works him. B.J. Surhoff, always a good hitter with the Brewers. .292 average again this year. And very much not down and in. Too high, ball 1.
Well, the left-hander's bats always speed up on a pitch down and in.
Mark Parent is on deck, and then to the top of the order. Slider, but Seitzer gets this one. Hershiser covering, and there is 1 away. Orel Hershiser get into the postseason, and then he seems to be in his true element. 8-1, and of course for him it all got started in 1988, and I mean when he became the real Bulldog of October, when the Dodgers astounded the New York Mets and baseball fans everywhere. Like the Mets were on a roll headed for the World Series. And of course, the Mets manager that year, Davey Johnson. Orel not only pitched great as a starter that year against the Mets, but he also got a save in one big ball game. Here's Mark Parent. Base hit. Got a pretty fat-looking pitch there from Orel.
High fastball from Orel. Looked like it was out over the plate. Get a look at this rotation. It's a fastball. He wanted it to be a sinker, but it really doesn't sink much. Stays right up there. You can see anytime the ball's above the umpire's head there, you know it's up in the strike zone.
Now Brady Anderson. Well, you got the veteran Hershiser, and of course he's 38 now. So you start always taking that into account. I mean, he's done all these great things in his career, but now he's 38. Anderson takes a strike. Last year, they had Hershiser, the veteran, but they also had Dennis Martinez.
You're right.
Dennis pitched great in the postseason as well. He's not here now. He got hurt this year and lost for the season. They could use him now. Martinez, the former Orel, become just an outstanding veteran pitcher. But age may have caught up with him this year. 1-1 to Anderson. He singled to right his first time. Two men in the majors hit 50 home runs or more this year. Mark McGwire hit 52 for Oakland, and Brady Anderson was the other.
The leadoff hitter with 50 home runs.
That's unprecedented. He chased that high fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes, and Brady became the 14th man to reach 50. And Joe, if you sat with him, you said, well, man, you joined some pretty good company. Tell me who the other guys are. He would list the names for you.
I like that.
When he was a kid, his dad gave him a book about the great home run hitters. And Brady, growing up in Southern California, as a youngster, put to memory the list of all the guys who'd hit 50. In fact, earlier this year, when quizzed, he couldn't remember just the last couple of guys. Couldn't remember Albert Bell or Cecil Fielder.
Good pitch.
So Brady Anderson gone on strikes. Caught looking.
Well, John Hershiser, when you have a good sinker, you can start that ball off the plate, especially the left-handers that stand close to the plate. See, that ball starts off the plate inside, and the rotation, and watch the rotation. That ball move is spinning back toward the middle of the plate, and it catches the inside corner. This really works on left-handed hitters who stand close to the plate. He'll be able to get that pitch all day on Brady because it's very difficult to swing at. You always give up on it, and it just moves back on the inside corner.
I thought I was watching John Burkett last night at Yankee Stadium. Here's Zeal, and that's a called strike. Alomar set up on the outside corner, but a similar kind of a pitch. It drifted back maybe and caught too much of the plate that time, but Zeal wasn't swinging. Zeal hit a double play ball his first time. There's Sandy Alomar, one of the outstanding receivers in the game. Low slider to third. Tomey will get the force out at second with Vizcaino covering. Parent is retired, so are the Orioles. And everybody took it as almost a given. It would be the Dodgers and Cardinals.
Right.
But the Padres had different ideas. Omar Vizquel, that was ruled a ball. The Orioles appealed to thinking that he had bunted at it, but third base umpire John Shulock said otherwise. 1 ball and no strikes to Vizquel, and that is a called strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Vizquel hitting 8th in the order. Then the former Met, Jose Vizcaino, on deck, and then Kenny Lofton, the leadoff man, due third against Scott Erickson. 1-0. The Orioles ahead. 2-1 now to Vizquel. The Dodgers. Good thing when you get Atlanta, LA, even in this the great year for offense in Major League Baseball. In that series, you're going to get a great pitching matchup every day. That's what you think of course, over the years. Top pitcher against top pitcher.
Well, in the past, John, that's the way it has always been in the playoffs. Whoever has the best pitching would usually win. I'm not so sure that's going to apply all the way down the line now. I think if you have a good offensive ball club and some decent pitching, you can win. You can win in the playoffs.
2-2 the count. Good sinker on the ground. Alomar. There's one away. Tonight at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, join Roy Firestone for an up-close special from the ESPN Club at Disney World. Firestone's guests include Don Shula, Isaiah Thomas, and Mariners superstar shortstop Alex Rodriguez. That's an up-close special tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Here now is Jose Vizcaino. Switch hitter, .285 average for Cleveland after coming over from the Mets in the big trade, the Carlos Baerga trade. Of course, one of the points in terms of Cleveland making that deal was to improve their defense, which had been a weakness for them. That's a called strike on the outside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
John, I was thinking maybe after today's game we should fly down to Florida and hang out with Roy Firestone and those superstars.
Yeah, why not? I always like to get down to Disney World. And we don't have to be anywhere until tomorrow afternoon. We have to be in St. Louis.
Let's hang out with some of those guys. You know? Don Shula.
John, Joe, Shula, Alex Rodriguez, and Mickey.
Yeah.
1-2 the count to Vizcaino. Up the middle, base hit. Erickson's a guy who you think of as getting the ball down, making them hit it on the ground. That was up.
Well, every once in a while, and he was ahead in the count with 2 strikes, he can throw the fastball by certain hitters if he gets it up. We saw that with Tomey early in the game. This pitch is just not up enough. He needed to get that pitch about 6 inches higher, and I think he would have been successful. They talked about Vizcaino and how he helped them defensively. He's also a pretty good hitter, especially from the left side.
Well, he hit nearly 300 with the Mets, 285 after he got here to Cleveland. Just a pretty good player.
Right.
Kenny Lofton. There's the bunt. It's a good one. And they can't decide who's going to pick it up. Base hit for Lofton. Parent gave up on it, and then Zeal had given up on it. And maybe it wouldn't have made any difference anyway.
I don't think it would have made any difference, but Zeal has to be the one to pick it up because he can get the throw off quicker. Now watch, Veal will be coming in facing first base, so if he picks it up, he just throws across his body. Parent has to wheel and turn and find first base and then throw it. So the only chance they had was if Zeal could have made the play, and he didn't feel he could make it, so probably was going to be a base hit anyway.
Well, and that's part of the Kenny Lofton game there, dropping a bunt down. And he's got a lot of ways to attack you. So here is Seitzer. Don't think of Seitzer as a big run producer, but he's always been tough with men in scoring position.
He's a good hitter, John, and when you're a good hitter and a runner's at second base, you know how to hit in that situation. You just want to hit a line drive. You do not have to find the gap. You do not have to go for the big fly. You can just hit line drives.
Seitzer hit a double off the first base bag his first time. Slowed down by Erickson. And the man ran out of the baseline, and they get the double play. Lofton went out of the baseline, and then Alomar threw back to first in time to double up Seitzer. And just like that, the inning has ended. We're heading to the last of the third inning. Alomar coming up, then Palmeiro and Bonilla. Orioles 1, Cleveland nothing. Has an interesting read as to what really happened on that play. And right now, Roberto Alomar is getting ready to lead it off here for the Orioles. He walked with 2 down and nobody out of the first inning and eventually scored the only run of this game. And that's in there for a called strike from Hershiser. 1-0. The Orioles leading the Indians. 1 run and 2 hits for Baltimore. No runs, 3 hits. And 1 big error for Cleveland. It was on that error that the Orioles scored their run. That's a foul off the third base side. 0-2 to Alomar. Big power to follow him. Palmeiro and then Bonilla. And in 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Alomar. Hit .328 in the regular year. He came within a few 10,000ths or whatever, a percentage point of equaling the Orioles club record for batting average. Ken Singleton, pretty good hitter in his own right, hit .328 one year for Baltimore. Off the foot. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
It's interesting because I remember Frank Robinson tied for Triple-A, won the Triple Crown.
1966.
Yeah, I thought he would have hit for a higher average than that.
The Orioles with 4 100 RBI men. Alomar, a 5th, who had 94. And for that matter, including what he did with Philadelphia, Todd Zeal had 99. Vizquel. And Alomar is retired, 1 away.
And you watch Vizquel throwing the ball. He still has some shoulder problems. He doesn't really get rid of it that quickly. Let's take a look at the double play that we were talking about. This is interesting because now watch, Lofton is going to be running. This looks like it's a base hit. Nice glove hand stop by Erickson. Now look right here. Look where these 2 players are. He will run over to tag him and then watch the umpire. No place for Lofton to go. Lofton swings at his hand, and the umpire calls him out automatically, and he completes the double play to first base. But not a bad base running play by Lofton. just circumstances put him in that position.
Palmeiro swinging at the high fastball, lifts it foul and out of play. He walked his first time. 1-0. The Orioles leading the Indians, last of the third inning. The final game in this series here in Baltimore. Game 3. We'll see a change in venue. They'll adjourn to Cleveland. Game 3 coming up 4 o'clock on Friday right here on ESPN. That fastball misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bonilla is on deck. Well, Scott Erickson induced more double plays this year than any other pitcher in the American League, but just he didn't do it that particular way. He usually got him to hit ground balls, not line drives right back at him. He got the glove on it, and then Alomar did the rest. That's a foul out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Palmeiro. 1-0 for Baltimore. They scored first again today, but then Hershiser put the clamps on him. Yesterday, Baltimore scored in the first against Nagy, but then they got another one in the second, 2 more in the third. They had 4 on the board after just 3. And then Cleveland had to play catch-up the rest of the day. Slider got him looking.
Beautiful pitch there from Hershiser, kind of a backdoor pitch because he had been off the plate inside with Palmeiro earlier in this at bat. There you see the breaking ball. I mean, you see the hole in it. The seams are spinning down. When they're wide like that, that's a curveball. When they're narrow, it's a hard slider. And you'll see this pitch gets right on the outside corner. Nice pitch there from Hershiser.
2 down, Bobby Bonilla. Bonilla hit the ground ball through the legs of Seitzer for the only run of the game up till now. That was in the first inning.
Watch how Alomar Jr. is working. He gives him the target down and in. He doesn't want him to throw it there because Hershiser's ball moves back out over the plate. So he wants him to start it inside, and it'll move back out. Although he was set up outside then. But when he wants to throw the sinker, he sets up inside on the left-handed hitters, and the ball will move back away. That's actually his target. Hershiser throws the ball at his target, and he lets it move back out and run away from him.
In other words, he sets up further inside than the ball's going to be.
Exactly.
All right. To the inside. Breaking ball that time. 3-0.
But it's interesting here. You just watch him. He sets up on the inside corner to all these left-handed hitters, but he doesn't throw the ball in there. The ball doesn't end up in there, I should say.
2 down, nobody on. Cal Ripken on deck would be next. 3-0. Swinging away, Bonilla lost a high, lazy fly into left center. Lofton, plenty of time, plenty of room, and that is the inning. The Orioles go down in order without a base runner for the first time. We're heading to the 4th inning now. The power's coming up. Jim Thome, Albert Bell, and Julio Franco, and the Bulldog getting that. We'll see a lot of Cleveland Indian hats on Friday, and the series moves to the Jake. Is the big, powerful left-handed swinger Jim Thome taking ball 1 from Scott Erickson. 1-0 for the Orioles over the Indians. Thome struck out on a high fastball his first time. The power is up. Like a changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I want you fans to watch the difference in the way that Parent works with Erickson and the way Alomar works with Hershiser. I'm going to point something out when Hershiser goes back out there, but just watch Parent where he sets the target. Basically sets the target where he wants him to throw the ball, and I think you'll see a difference when Alomar Jr. goes back out there.
He didn't like that call. He thought that sinker was a little bit too low. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He complained to Greg Cost about it. Erickson, of course, the lower they call him, the better for him. Hershiser the same way. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Albert Bell is on deck. Good sinker, check swing. No swing on the appeal. John Shulak refusing to overrule Greg Cost. 2-2 the count.
Remember, he struck Thome out with a high fastball on a check swing his last time up, and he had thrown him a couple off-speed pitches. He's basically gone with the hard stuff here and the good sinker. We'll see if he does risk going upstairs out of the strike zone.
Strike 3 call on the inside corner.
Show you how Alomar works with Hershiser. I believe that the 2 conversations he went out and had with with Hershiser was telling them that he feels that some of these left-handed hitters are peeking to see where the pitches are going to be. Now watch every pitch. He sets up inside, and Hershiser's not throwing it inside. He sets up inside, he goes away. He sets up inside, and he throws him a curveball away. So I think he's trying to keep these Orioles hitters honest, and it probably goes back to something that happened during the season with Hershiser pitching. Remember, they beat up on him here a couple of times, and he probably feels like the Orioles hitters are peeking to see where he's setting up. And if you know where the catcher is setting up, you can just about anticipate what the pitch is going to be. So I think they're using their own different sets of signs rather than the target.
Here's Albert Bell. A fastball in there for a strike. Well, we saw the Palmeiro at bat there. The target down and in, and a fastball running up and away.
Right.
He later struck him out of that at bat with a target down and in on a backdoor slider.
Backdoor breaking ball.
Yeah.
They're trying to get these guys off balance.
0-1 to Albert Bell. Sinker missing. 1 ball, 1 strike. Albert grounded a short in his first at bat today. And in 5 at bats in this series, he has not yet gotten the ball out of the infield. Talking about keeping Lofton off the base paths is a key to beating Cleveland. How about keeping this guy on the infield? Ripken backhands it. And Albert Bell kept on the infield for a 6th consecutive time. 2 down, nobody on. Well, when Erickson is on, the results are just as we're seeing today, Joe. I mean, ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. There has only been 1 fly ball caught in the outfield by the Orioles. Ramirez got a pop fly into shallow right center back in the 2nd inning. Everybody else has pretty much hit the ball on the ground. A couple of line drives toward the middle as well. Low liners. Franco struck out his first time. And that's inside. 7 ground ball outs, 3 strikeouts, and just the 1 outfield out with Erickson on the mound. Scott Erickson. He's been in postseason play before. His 2nd year in the big leagues, 1991 with the Minnesota Twins. Strike. Nice pitch to the outside, behind the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. In that great Game 6 against the Atlanta Braves in '91, he was the starter. Left ahead 3-2, but got no decision. Then Kirby Puckett won that game with that dramatic extra inning home run against Lee Brandt. That's a foul off to the right. I forgot to ask Kirby about that yesterday. I missed it.
Thank you. I listened to you guys. I thought I enjoyed listening to Kirby talk about hitters, but I mean, I think he was a little biased here a little bit now. Every pitch that was called a ball, he thought it was a ball.
Strike 3. He got him chasing the bad ball. 3 up and 3 down for Cleveland. Murray, then Ripken coming up. 1-0. The Orioles coverage of the 1996 American League Division Series from Baltimore continues. Game 2. Last of the 4th inning. It's Baltimore 1, Cleveland 0. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. Cal Ripken at the plate. He was hit by a Hershiser pitch his first time. And bending back from a curveball, called a strike. It is 0-1. Eddie Murray on deck. And then B.J. Surhoff due up 3rd. The numbers 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the Orioles batting order. And we'll keep an eye on Sandy Alomar when we have a chance in this inning. The Cleveland catcher. Broken bat to short. Is kept. And there is 1 away. Ripken is now 0 for 1. And Eddie Murray coming up.
And 0 for 13 against Hershiser. That's very interesting.
Not alone, I guess. Probably a pretty good list of very good hitters who've not done well against Hershiser. Eddie Murray. Big moment of the game with Baltimore having a chance with the bases loaded in the 1st inning and a run already in to open up a big lead. But Hershiser came back to strike out Murray with a changeup. We'll watch Alomar a bit here.
Keep your head down, baby.
Well, down and in, but that's not what the pitch was.
Now, and Hershiser's control is good enough that he can throw the ball. We've seen him throw the ball where he wants. We just saw that with Ripken. And I think he really feels like the left-handers may have a way of peeking or feeling where Sandy Alomar Jr. is.
Murray got something in his eye there, a bug perhaps. Hurriedly called timeout and jumped out of the batter's box.
They're having some fun out there. Hershiser's kind of motioning to Eddie, go ahead and stay out of the batter's box. And Eddie had a little smile back for it.
Well, he used to be teammates with the Dodgers for a time and also with Cleveland. Down and in to Murray. 2-0. Big league hitters are always looking for an edge.
Yes.
Some catchers just set up too early and give it away.
Right.
I remember the Orioles used to have a very fine left-hander. You faced him in the World Series in '83, Scott McGregor. And he used to have a deal with Rick Dempsey as catcher. He says, just set a target wherever you want. I promise you'll be able to catch whatever I throw. Just over the head of Vizquel, a base hit for Murray.
That's good hitting there by Eddie Murray. Again, watch, he sets up toward the inside corner, and this is a sinker away. The ball moves away, but Eddie, not trying to pull it, just lines it over the shortstop's head for a base hit. See where he's set up? Now watch where the pitch ends up. Now he that's exactly what's going on here, because he's set up inside, kind of pushed the glove so that Eddie may know that he's there, and then at the last second, he kind of caught that ball away from him.
P.J. Surhoff grounded out to first his first time. Ball one. Murray at first, one out. Mark Parent is on deck. 1-0 for Baltimore. Last of the fourth inning. Here's Parent watching the action. Hit deep to right field, down the line and hooking. Foul. Home run distance. And enough elevation. That wall out there is 25 feet high, but he could not make it stay fair.
Well, that was a pitch Hershiser was trying to get off the plate inside. It's supposed to be a slider in. He didn't get it in far enough, and it was almost identical to the 2 home runs that Surhoff hit yesterday. It's supposed to break down and in, but it did not. We saw him come down and in on Eddie Murray, but he couldn't get this ball in, and Surhoff hit it hard, but he pulled it foul. If that would have been a fastball, it would have stayed fair.
Only 318 feet to that wall in the right field corner. They're all 25 feet high. It extends out 100 feet from the foul pole. It's there. And Tommy gives chase, but it's out of play.
And you can see then again, John, he set up inside. He kind of pushed the glove forward and then moved away. This is kind of interesting to me because, little things like this happen a lot during the course of a season. Now watch him give the target inside right there, and now watch him move away. See? That's exactly. You see, he was not set. He didn't set his body inside. He set the glove inside.
I remember Ted Simmons used to say, hey, the glove is not necessarily the target.
Right, exactly. A lot of pitchers throw at the knee, the shin guard. See him set up inside again? He's trying to move in and let him know he's there, and then he will go to wherever the pitch he wants the pitch to be. He wants it to start over again. Tom Seaver told me from a right-handed hitter at the plate, if he wants to throw a slider away, he throws it at the catcher's right shin guard.
Little tap. That'll move Murray over to second base, and Seitzer with the unassisted putout. Surhoff retired. 2 down. The Orioles are the man into scoring position now for the first time since the first inning, when they left them loaded, and Mark Parent is coming up. Vizquel catching up with his old teammate Eddie Murray there at second base. Here's Parent. He lined the single to left his first time. Parent started the year with Detroit, and of course he was there when the Tigers had that terrible start, and then they said, well, we're going to go with the young guys, so he sat. And then finally traded to Baltimore, which had been looking for a catcher all year long. And since he got here, he's become the personal catcher for Scott Erickson, who just seems to pitch better with Parent back there. Big, strong right-handed hitter. 2 down, 1-0. The Orioles ahead. Strike one. Here's Scott Erickson. He has not allowed a run in 4 innings. Only 3 hits given up, 4 strikeouts.
See, this is the way he's setting up with the right-handed hitters. He wants this pitch away. He's already set up out there. And you can see he wants it off the plate, and he gets it off the plate.
Through the legs of Alomar. I don't know if it winged Greg Cross there or not. Pickoff at second base, and Murray back to the bag. Now the ball is still over there.
Well, Hershiser picked Vizquel up too late. Murray was well off the bag and didn't see him coming. But by the time Hershiser realized Vizquel was there, it was too late. Murray was able to get back.
Vizquel is way over into the hole toward third base.
And he started running towards Murray, but Murray wasn't even watching him. But Hershiser just took a little too long to pick him up.
You see where Vizquel is. Look how, that's how far he was over when he came running in.
And look how big a lead Eddie is getting, because he knows that Vizquel is way off the...
Time taken by Parent, and Eddie Murray got a huge lead over there. As you mentioned, Joe, I mean, nobody's anywhere close to him, but he had that big lead before, and that's when Vizquel, I mean, he just started sprinting over to cover the bag.
But if you're a Hershiser, you say, hey, there are 2 outs, let me get the hitter. That's what they should go ahead and concentrate just on the hitter. Because if you give 10% concentration to Eddie, you can only give 90 to the hitter, and you may end up hanging a breaking ball or giving Parent something that he can hammer, and then you're another run down. So I think he should just concentrate on the hitter. You know Eddie's not going to steal third base.
High in the air, shallow left. Vizquel out, Bell in, and Bell calls him off, and that is the inning. Still 1-0 Baltimore. We're heading to the 5th inning. Manny Ramirez go to the 5th. There's a look at the fabulous National Aquarium on Baltimore's Inner Harbor, not far from Camden Yards.
Well, look at this pitch from Hershiser. Not as good a pitch as he wanted to make. He wanted to get it off the corner. You see Parent's very upset that he popped that pitch up because it was a mistake by Hershiser.
And then Hershiser leaving the field, and Eddie Murray kind of rubbed shoulders, rubbed elbows with him there.
Well, again, they were joking when he was at the plate. He told Eddie, just get out of the batter's box and stay. But Eddie got back in and hit a single.
Eddie Murray and Orel Hershiser. As I say, they've been teammates. First with the Dodgers, then last year in Cleveland, and of course this year as well. Here's Manny Ramirez. Cleveland is behind, but they're only behind by 1 run. Hershiser has certainly done his job up till now. And so too has Erickson. And that fastball misses outside. Ramirez is the only Cleveland hitter to have gotten a ball in the air to the outfield in this ball game for Cleveland. And even that was just a pop fly into shallow right center. He'll be followed by Sandy Alomar and then Omar Vizquel, the numbers 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the Cleveland lineup. That's a drive into deep left center. Anderson seems to have it zoned in on the warning track. He makes the catch. That one went out there pretty well. 1 man down. A lot more baseball coming up today at 4 Eastern. The Atlanta Braves, the Los Angeles Dodgers just getting started in their series. You'll see it right here on ESPN. Then at 8 o'clock tonight, a huge ball game, especially for the Yankees, a must win because then they're heading to Texas. The Rangers and Yankees, 8 o'clock. You'll be able to see that one on Fox. So that's your schedule. Then baseball tonight, tomorrow at 3:30, and then we'll have the Padres and the Cardinals. Joe and I will be in St. Louis, and then Fox will have game 2 of the Braves and Dodgers tomorrow night as well. Here is Sandy Alomar. So right after our game today, Braves Dodgers here on ESPN. Sandy Alomar hit a comebacker his first time. That's a foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, it's interesting, Joe, to see Erickson. I mean, he's had a pretty good live fastball, but that sinking action, he's making them hit the ball on the ground. But every once in a while, he's thrown in a changeup and a breaking ball. And earlier in the year, he would not throw that changeup, especially.
Well, what you're saying is he's really pitching very well. He's keeping the hitters off balance.
The sinker bounced foul.
What's the old term? You put a little on, take a little off, put a little on the fastball, take a little off, and you throw a few changeup, and you just keep the hitters off balance.
Well, that was a big song 20 years ago, wasn't it? Put a little on,
take a little
off. Get down tonight. Yeah. I don't know. I don't maybe not remember all the words.
Okay, all right.
1-2 the count. Now that was really low. And it is 2-2 to Alomar. Vizquel on deck. Chris Berman's not the only one who knows those
right.
lyrics,
those old,
right?
Especially knows the oldies but goodies.
Although he would know the real lyrics to that one.
You're right.
2-2 the count to Alomar. In the air. Into left center. That's 2 straight fly balls for Cleveland. 2 men down in the Cleveland 5th inning. Two down, nobody on. Omar Vizquel coming up now. He grounded out to second his first time. Cleveland has not had a base runner since Lofton's bunt base hit back in the 3rd inning. And Seitzer hit the double play to end the inning. Sinker that misses for ball 1. Erickson also has had excellent control today, Joe. I mean, he's started ahead of most of the hitters. He's had gone to 3 balls in a batter only 1 time. A 3-ball count only 1 time. And that fastball is in there. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, we often talk about movement on the pitches, and that's more important than the speed. I mean, unless you throw 99 miles an hour, say like a Nolan Ryan, you want to have a lot of movement on your pitches.
Up the middle. Ripken's got it. Out at first. And they love that in Baltimore. Cal Ripken taking one away from Vizquel. A Vizquel-like play. Anderson, then Zeal and Alomar coming up. 1-0 Baltimore. It was Bonilla yesterday with a grand slam, and now Ripken today. And what a fine play on Vizquel's grounder.
John, you say they love to see this in Baltimore. They love to see this anywhere if you're a baseball fan. Look how he stretches out and just gets it in the end of his web, and then he has to straighten up and get rid of the ball because Vizquel runs very well, and you see his teammates appreciate it. That's a fine play by Cal Ripken Jr.
Cal had been throwing the ball a lot better here the last few weeks of the season. He came out of spring training with a sore arm. I mean, he didn't like to talk about it much, but it certainly was evident on the field. Here's Brady Anderson. Of course, Vizquel got that shoulder problem, and he'll have some kind of surgery to clean it up as soon as the season's over. Brady Anderson is single to right and struck out, facing Hershiser, who is just pitching an outstanding ball game here, but trailing 1-0. There's a drive deep into right center field. Ramirez back. Gone! Another home run for the 50 home run man, Brady Anderson. 2-0 for the Orioles.
Hershiser after the pitch, and he motioned in to Sandy Alomar Jr. that he said the ball didn't move enough, did it? He means the ball should have been away, and he didn't get it away, and Brady Anderson makes him pay.
I don't know that that ball's a home run at Jacobs Field, Joe. I mean, to the right of the 373 marker out there, the fence is kind of shallow.
But it is here today.
Yeah, a Camden Yards special perhaps, but anywhere else still a gapper and a double or triple. Strike 1 to Todd Zeal. Zeal has hit a double play and grounded into a force play. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to him now. Brady Anderson. Again, we mentioned it yesterday. 50 homers, and despite the friendly dimensions in this ballpark, only 19 of the 50 were hit here, which is astounding. He hit 31 on the road.
I'm still a little surprised at the way that the pitchers, go after Brady Anderson. When we were here during the middle of the season, he was leading the American League in home runs, and it didn't seem like he had the respect of the other guys who were hitting home runs. They were just pitching to him. They wouldn't even change pitchers to bring in a left-hander to pitch to him. But, I mean, when I watch the way Hershiser's going after him, I'm still amazed. I mean, he's not throwing him a lot of curveballs or change-ups. It looks like he's just trying to get him out with a sinker. And he's a good hitter. Forgetting the fact he hits the ball out of the ballpark, he's a good hitter. You need to change speeds on him a little bit.
That's a good point, though. I mean, he's a 50 home run man,
but they don't believe it.
They're not pitching to him like you would expect a 50 home run man to be pitched. Vizquel guns down Todd Zeal.
When I watch the way they pitch to Martin, McGuire, Ken Griffey Jr., the other ones, this is supposed to be a sinker away. See, it starts away, but it does not move away enough. And, I mean, when you're challenging a Brady Anderson with a fastball, a lot of times when you're behind an account, you're going to get hurt. And, I mean, I would bet that he's taking advantage of a lot of people who do not give them the respect that he is due. Now, watch, he looks back. Now, if you can see his hand motion, see, he shakes his head, said, yeah, it was supposed to be Brady Anderson with a fastball. A lot of times when you're behind an account, you're going to get hurt. And, I mean, I would bet that he's taking advantage of a lot of people who do not give them the respect that he is due. Now, watch, he looks back. Now, if you can see his hand motion, see, he shakes his head, said, yeah, it was supposed to be away, and he didn't get it away.
Here's Roberto Alomar. Well, Brady homered against Hershiser in this ballpark back in April. The first time Hershiser got roughed up by the Orioles. The Orioles ended up hitting 6 home runs in that game and beat Hershiser and the Indians 14-4. And then here on July 27th, the Orioles beat Hershiser in Cleveland 14-2. Those are Hershiser's 2 previous ball games in this ballpark this year.
Well, we're talking about Hershiser today, but, John, I'm talking about a lot of the pitchers that I have seen pitch to Brady throughout the season. I mean, it's like they do not believe that this guy's going to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
1 ball, 1 strike to Alomar. He has walked and grounded out and hits it foul down the left field line. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, it's 2-0 now for the Orioles. Well, you mentioned in the open to the telecast that you thought Hershiser might give up a home run or 2, but you thought they'd be solos.
Yeah.
Giving up 1, and in fact, it was a solo.
It's almost impossible for any pitcher to pitch a perfect ball game, not make any mistakes. And the Orioles hitters are so good, especially in this ballpark, that you make a mistake, they make you pay for it. I mean, it's that simple. So he's going to make some mistakes. And he's going to pay for it.
A big crisis for Hershiser. Murray in the base loaded in the first, and he struck him out when Murray had a chance to do some big damage. Anderson hits the solo. Well, Anderson hit 50, but the Orioles had an entire lineup of guys with 20 home runs or more. 9 players who hit at least 21 homers or more. 7 of them did it for the Orioles. I mean, they did it in an Orioles uniform. That is a major league record as well. Nobody had ever had more than 6 20 home runs before. Albert Bell on the run. Nice catch. Albert into a slide there. 2 men down, and here is Palmeiro, who finished second in the ball club to Brady Anderson for home runs. Anderson 50, Palmeiro 39, Bonilla 28, Ripken 26, Hoyles, who hits 9th, 25, Alomar 22, Murray hit 12 of his 22, and then with Cleveland, then Surhoff 21, and of course Todd Zeile hit 25, 5 after he came to Baltimore. He's the 9th 20 home run man. Ball 1. Palmeiro has walked and struck out. I mean, never in the history of the game has anyone ever seen a team, Joe, play the final month of the year with all 9 of its hitters on a given day with 20-plus home runs. I mean, it's pretty astounding. But they also had some games, Joe, where if they didn't hit a home run, they didn't score.
Well, that's true. I remember that. You know, now watch how he pitches to Palmeiro. I mean, he's throwing him change-ups, sliders off the plate in, then he'll move the fastball away. That is not the way they were pitching to Brady Anderson.
He's showing Palmeiro the respect.
Yeah, that is due, but...
And 2-1 to Palmeiro.
Change up and inside again.
Rafael Palmeiro. 39 homers last year in the season that was shortened by the strike. He came back with 39 again this year. But this year, for the first time in his career, the big RBI numbers. 142 batted in. Check swing foul into the Cleveland dugout. 2-2 to Palmeiro. He just makes it look so easy, Joe. People tend to underestimate Palmeiro, I think, sometimes. He doesn't make you ooh and ah with his big uppercut swing, say like a Mo Vaughn, with such a presence at the plate. Or, for that matter, Albert Bell. You see the RBI progression there. It's 94, a strike short in the year as well. Consistent with the RBI figures, but he really exploded this year.
And if you remember back, the Cubs traded him because he was an outfielder that didn't hit for any power and didn't drive in any runs before he went to Texas.
Popped up foul, and this will be back out of play. Well, he worked on that, too. I think that stung a little bit. He was stung that he was traded and stung by those comments. He went to Texas and worked on trying to pull the ball a little bit more. I mean, that doesn't happen by accident.
No, because that was his problem. He wasn't pulling the ball enough to hit for power, and he started pulling the ball. But he still used the entire field.
Yeah. And that's what you're talking about. He gets a lot of those as well. In fact, this year, one of his lower batting averages. So, 2 down, Palmeiro aboard.
He waited on the changeup from Hershiser and just lined it into center field. He's still a little bit out front, but you see he's not trying to do too much with it. Watch, he just throws his hands at the ball right there. I mean, that's a beautiful swing right there, especially with 2 strikes. Just throw the bat at the ball and try to get a line drive someplace.
Well, one thing when you got this many home run men in the lineup, Joe, a guy like Palmeiro, Cal Ripken, they know that they don't always have to be the guy to hit the big home run. They got plenty of other guys who can do it too, such as Bonilla. Strike, nice pitch right on the outside. It's 0-1. Bonilla reached on the error by Seitzer, allowing the first run of the game to score. That was in the first, and he flied out to left center in the third. The switch hitter batting left-handed. Bonilla drove in 116 runs this year. In the dirt. Cal Ripken on deck. He would be next. A run is in for the Orioles. Baltimore 2, Cleveland nothing. Last of the 5th inning. In game 2 of this best-of-5 series. There's Ripken hoping to bat here in the 5th. Orel Hershiser. Always so strong in the postseason. But today especially, the Indians need a virtuoso performance. And this time he just missed out there. 2-1 to Bonilla.
John, you're talking about all these great hitters in the Orioles lineup. Some wise old philosopher years ago said hitting is contagious. And I believe that. If you have a lot of good hitters in the lineup, they will feed off of each other. Because as you say, they do not have to try to carry the team by themselves. And it allows them just to hit the ball rather than try to drive it out all the time.
2-2 now to Bonilla. Well, if he said hitting was contagious, he probably wasn't a philosopher. He must have been a doctor. Research scientist or some kind. Brady Anderson. Well, if it's contagious, he certainly caught the virus, and he's hoping to keep it. 50 home runs for Brady. The 14th man in history to have done that. I mean, when you see the list of names, then there's Brady Anderson. 2-2 the count. In the dirt. Knocked down by Alomar. Good job. Palmeiro has to hold it first. 2 down, 3-2 the count to Bonilla. The big test, really. I mean, George Foster had never had a real huge home run season before he hit 52. But then the next year he came back with 40.
Yeah.
We'll see what Brady does next year.
Well, George was a legitimate home run hitter, but he was also a fine hitter. He could hit line drives as well as home runs.
Now the Baltimore crowd rises to its feet, just as they did yesterday on a 3-2 pitch with the bases loaded, and Bonilla responded with the grand slam. That was in the 6th inning. Now Alomar with a quick chat with Hershiser. Now the other times we've gone out there, Joe, you've noticed that it seems to have resulted in a little sleight of hand in terms of where he gives the target.
Well, let's see what he does here.
3-2. Sets up, down and in. Palmeiro runs way inside. Bonilla gets the walk. 2 men on.
I don't know what that
Cal Ripken coming up.
I don't know what that pitch was, except we're not going to let Bonilla hurt us with the right-hander coming up next.
That was the well, Ripken's 0 for 13 against me. Let's face him.
Yeah. And make no mistake about it, everyone keeps these charts, and going into a ball game, Hershiser probably doesn't have to be told that who's hitting well against him and who's not. I mean, as a pitcher, you know who you've had success with and who you've been hit hard by. So he knew that going in, and he knows what Ripken's situation is.
Hershiser has that great recall. I mean, you can still talk to him about specific at-bats in the '88 World Series, where he'll tell you about patterns on hitters and that sort of thing. 2 men on, 2 men out in the 5th. And here's Cal Ripken. Mark White to the pitching coach. Ripken, base hit. Palmeiro heading home. He scores run number 3. Bonilla stops at second. And Ripken for the first time has a base hit against Hershiser, and it hurt. 3-0 Orioles. Eddie Murray coming up.
Well, as we said, percentages are in Ripken's favor that he's eventually going to get a base hit because he is a good hitter, and no one's going to shut out a good hitter forever. So he was due to get a base hit. And he got a good pitch to hit. Hershiser hung a slider. It wasn't exactly where he wanted to throw it. See, the target's low and away, hangs his pitch up and over the middle of the plate, and Ripken rips it into left field. Nice swing, good results. And there you see Palmeiro coming around to score the 3rd run for the Orioles.
Murray telling him, go ahead and stand up. And now you hear the crowd chanting, Eddie. Wiley out there visiting with Hershiser. Wiley, the pitching coach for Cleveland. The bullpen is busy. A couple of young pitchers, the right-hander Danny Graves and Alan Embry, the left-hander. It's the 5th inning. They don't want to go to the bullpen now. But Hershiser, again, as you said, Joe, he made a couple of pitches in this inning he didn't want to make.
That's exactly right. I think that's a sign of pitching under tremendous pressure or having to make perfect pitches all the time. Eventually, you're just going to make a mistake.
And that's, I mean, his club has been shut out. Down the left field line, if it's fair, it's trouble. Fair ball. 1 run scores. Ripken is being waved home. The relay by Vizquel. It's there. And he's out. Alomar with the tag. Bell to Vizquel to Alomar. Beautifully done. But Eddie Murray has driven in another run. It's a 3-run inning for the Orioles. 4-0 Baltimore. We're heading to the 6th. And when is this great Cleveland lineup going to explode? They're running out of time. And suddenly it's Baltimore 4 and Cleveland nothing. And no signs of life in this Cleveland offense so far today. Interesting, like a huddle in the dugout with Mike Hargrove in the middle after that inning, Joe.
Well, we can only speculate, John, but, you know, it's come to the time where Hargrove is probably saying we're a better team than we were last year. Let's show it. And I think he had all of his guys together, all the players that are playing today, and say, hey, let's do something here. And I think they've gotten to that point where they have to make an impact here on Erickson.
And the sooner the better. It's the 6th inning already.
That's the point. You cannot wait. You know, they have, I think what he basically would be saying to him, you have 12 outs to go. We better make good use of them. And you can see he's a little irritated there, and I don't blame him because he said, and the team has said all along, this is a better ball club than they had last year, and they're not showing it at this point. They didn't show it in yesterday's ball game, and they're definitely not showing it today.
2 quick strikes to Vizcaino. After him, to the top of the batting order, Lofton and then Seitzer, and then the power after them if some people can get on base. He struck him out of pitch in the dirt. And there's the put out. The throw to Palmeiro.
Let's look at the play at the plate that ended the inning. It was a perfect relay from Albert Bell to Vizquel. Vizquel throws. Now watch what Ripken does. He doesn't try to avoid the tag. He slides towards Alomar Jr. and he was trying to hit him with his shoulder to knock the ball out. Now watch him. He's going to slide towards him. See, he's going after him. He's trying to knock the ball out of his hand right there because he realized that the throw was going to beat him. Nice play by Ripken and also a good play by Alomar Jr. to hold on to the ball.
I mean, that throw, it was pretty much right there.
No, it was right there, but he was going after it, and Alomar could feel that and avoided the contact.
Now, if the throw is a little bit more offline towards, say, the pitcher,
then Ripken can slide to the outside and avoid the tag. But it was obvious there he was not trying to avoid the tag. He was trying to make contact because he knew the throw was going to beat him. But, you know, and that's a feel you get from playing this game as long as Cal Ripken Jr. has played it.
Here's Kenny Lofton. He's hit a comebacker, and he has had a bunt single. Outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Zeal very shallow at third. Palmeiro shortened up at first. The outfield over toward the left field line against Kenny Lofton. 4-0 in the 6th. That's too high. One other question, Joe. Against a sinker baller, I mean, general rule of thumb is I mean, don't try to swing for the heels. Don't try to pull the ball all the time because you play into his hand. I mean, how about the Cleveland approach in this ball game?
Well, I've always believed against a sinker ball pitcher and a very good sinker ball pitcher like Erickson, I believe that you move towards the pitcher. That takes a little bit of the sink out of the baseball. I mean, so that you're hitting the ball at a higher peak. A pitcher throws his sinker to sink when it gets to the plate, so you move up closer. The same thing comes into effect with a guy with a great curveball. You move towards him, and that takes a little bit of the breakout because he's throwing it to break at 60 feet 6 inches.
Lofton thought it was ball 4, and Kosk called him back, and Lofton will get into it with him. 3-2 the count now. Of course, down by 4, you need base runners.
Right, and Lofton's doing his job. I mean, he's going to take a pitch. But, you know, Kosk is correct. And actually, you could tell by the way Kosk was looking at him. He was like, what are you questioning me on that pitch for? Looked like a pretty good pitch there, but obviously we're quite a ways away. But Greg kind of said, well, that's not a question mark. That was a good pitch.
3-2. Up the middle. Base hit. So Lofton has done his job. He's gotten the board.
Looked like the same pitch, John.
Yeah. Now, these top 5 hitters yesterday afternoon, they went 4 for 22. Lofton, Seitzer, Thome, Bell, and Franco. All singles. Today, the top 5, Lofton's got 2 hits, Seitzer a double, but the 3, 4, 5 men, Thome, Bell, and Franco, combined 0 for 6 with 4 strikeouts for those big 4. So the big run producers are not getting it done.
John, and this is the fear that you have when you are supposedly the best team in your league and you have to play a short series against another team that's a good team. Anything can happen in a short series. In a 3 out of 5, anything can happen, and that's what you're afraid of. And that's why some people feel like, and I feel that way also, that there should be some type of reward for having the best record in your league, like playing more games at home, having the home field advantage.
Yeah, I mean, what's the advantage?
Exactly. Over a wild card team, there's no advantage.
I mean, how much of an advantage is it if you lose those first 2 before you ever even get home?
Exactly. And again, I mean, you know, we're not making excuses or anything because I think, you know, this series is far from over. But I think by the same token, it is something that you have to visit. I think baseball has to visit that and make some type of adjustments. I really believe that.
Kevin Seitzer hit a double off the first base bag in the first inning. Grounded into a double play off the glove of Erickson in the third. He's hit the ball hard twice against him, though. And Lofton is back. Lofton stole 75 bases, and teams almost ran at will against both Erickson and yesterday's Baltimore starter, David Wells, during the regular season. 4-0, the Orioles ahead in the 6th. Middle infield, double play dead. There goes Lofton. And off the glove of Parent. So Lofton easily steals the bag. His Parent had to go back and retrieve the ball.
Well, I think that shows me something, and maybe it's a result of that conversation we saw in the dugout. I was going to say, if you're in this position and you're Lofton, you have to make something happen. You're the guy. Even though you're down 4 runs, you have to make sure you get a perfect jump so that you're going to make it. You can't get thrown out, but you're also the guy that needs to stand tall here and make something happen for your ball club.
Pat Dobson, the Orioles pitching coach, is going to go to the mound now to talk to Erickson. The runner at second and 1 out here in the 6th inning. There's Dobson. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent. Two and all the count to Kevin Seitzer. Now, also, Joey, we talk about 4-0, and obviously it's getting to be an anxious time for the Cleveland Indians and Cleveland fans. But this is a great lineup, and they have been able to produce heavy run totals for these last 2 and 3 years. So they're far from out of the game, and the Orioles bullpen has also not been as strong as some. They had to go through 4 different relievers in 2 1/3 innings yesterday to get it done, and that was with a huge lead. So some big batters here for Erickson. We're only in the 6th. There goes Lofton again, and Parent will not make a throw.
I like this. I mean, I'm telling you, I watched Kenny Lofton last year in the World Series, and he loved being on that stage. I mean, he performed very well for the Indians, even though they did not win the World Series. But right now, he's performing as the guy that should be the leader of this ball club. He is doing what he's supposed to do. and now he's in a position where a ground ball at least gets them one of the runs back. And as you mentioned, they still the 6th inning, so they have a ways to go.
The big powers on deck. Tomey on deck. 1 out. 2-1. And Parent is suddenly having a real hard time. I don't know if that means there's so much movement on the pitch or what, but that's 2 of the last 3 pitches now that he's mishandled. 3-1. The Sun trying to break through now at Camden Yards here late in the afternoon. That'll get a run home. It's a Kenny Lofton production. Alomar throws out Hershiser. Lofton scores, and it is 4-1. Well, you know, I remember that game last year in the World Series that Greg Maddux pitched such a great game and was never better, but still Cleveland scored 2 runs, and Kenny Lofton did them almost single-handedly both times.
Well, Kenny is a guy that can take over the ball game differently than your Albert Bells or your Palmeiros or your Brady Anderson. He does it in a different way. And I think it's important right there what Kevin Hershiser did. I mean, it may seem like, let's say, well, he didn't get a base hit, but you know what? He got the run home. They have shown Erickson that they can put a chink in his armor, and now that's what you have to do first. You have to crawl before you walk.
And the next step is for these big guns to start doing their job as they've done it not just this year, but the last 3 years. Jim Tomey today 0 for 2. He's struck out swinging and looking. He is 1 for 6 in the series and has struck out 4 times in those 6 at-bats. 2 down, nobody on. Albert Bell on deck. Sinker outside. 2-0.
Now, the greatest advice I ever heard a manager give to players was Sparky Anderson. We were playing the Boston Red Sox in 1976, and we were down. No, 75. We were down to Bill Lee in the 7th game.
Up the middle, Alomar can't get to it. Base hit. Big hit for Tomey. That keeps the inning going for Albert Bell.
And John Sparky's advice was, let's use these 12 outs we have to the best of our ability. Let's not go up there, everyone trying to hit a home run. Let's get a couple of guys on, and then somebody will pop one out. And I think that's what the Indians have to do. Not every hitter walk up there trying to hit a home run. And truthfully, that's what I see here in this inning. And I think a lot of that has to do with that pep talk they got from Mike Hargrove in the dugout.
This Cleveland club, I mean, these first 6 hitters are not just a lot of guys with some great power. They all hit 300. And Albert Bell, I mean, you think of Albert Bell as a home run man, and he is, I mean, with good reason, but he's also very proud of hitting for the big average every year. Now, Bell in this game has twice rounded out the shortstop. And that would tell you pretty much that he's swinging at what Erickson wants him to swing at. Albert has not hit the ball out of the infield in this series. And that's high. And you see that movement. It really seems to be bothering Mark Parent back there.
You're
right.
Strikes. And that happens, you know, during the course of a ball game. And what usually happens is a guy, as he gets tired, his ball starts to move a little more.
A run is in for Cleveland. 4-1 for the Orioles. Albert Bell trying to bring him back. And there's a shot deep in the left center field. Yeah. He has done it. Albert Bell, a 2-run homer, and suddenly it's a 1-run game. Kenny Lofton ignited him almost single-handedly, and then the 2-out single by Tomey now has turned into a 3-run rally as Albert Bell cashes him in with just a line shot at the left center field.
And this inning, we've seen Erickson throw a few more pitches up in the strike zone. This is a sinker that's up a little bit, and Albert Bell makes him pay for it. But this is what Mike Hargrove wanted them to do. Let's be a little more patient and do our things. See, that pitch is up a little bit. You can see that Parent wanted to pitch away a little bit more. It wasn't. And Albert Bell, as soon as he hits it, he knows it's gone. Now watch where this pitch is. It's up above the knees, about belt high, and it's toward the outside corner, but not away enough.
Well, Leo Franco, and it takes ball 1. The Baltimore bullpen gets busy for the first time. A right-hander and a left-hander up out there for Baltimore. Franco has also struck out twice. And that one callable.
Remember one thing now, they started a rally here that puts a little pressure on on Erickson as well.
Coppinger, the rookie right-hander, and the veteran left-hander Orozco up in the Baltimore bullpen. 2-0 the count. 3-0. And Albert Bell. I mean, he's the central figure in that Cleveland batting order, and he has done his job. Just a few batters ago, it started looking desperate here for Cleveland, and now here it is, anybody's ball game again, and we're only in the 6th. Up the middle, Ripken's got it, and throws him out. Another fine play by Ripken. But the Cleveland Indians have come storming back into the game. B.J. Surhoff coming up, then Parent and Anderson. 4-3 for the Orioles. Back in Baltimore now, it's the Orioles 4, but Cleveland 3. And a long way to go yet in this one, Game 2 of this Division Series playoff. Friday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. It's the Colorado Avalanche taking on the St. Louis Blues in opening night action from the NHL. The Avalanche, the defending Stanley Cup champs, and they're led by their outstanding goaltender, Patrick Waugh. That's the Avalanche and the Blues, Friday at 8 Eastern right here on ESPN. Albert Bell. First off, he started the play to throw out Ripken at the plate in the 5th inning, and then he capped off the Cleveland comeback inning in the 6th with a home run.
And, John, sometimes a defensive play can ignite you offensively, and I think after that play is when Hargrove had that meeting in the dugout, and they seem to come out with a little different attitude.
Well, Eric Plunk has been warming up in the bullpen. He's been one of their best relievers this year, and although Hershiser went out to warm up, I guess he was just giving Plunk time to get ready. So Plunk is coming on with B.J. Surhoff due up, and Hershiser's gone after only 5 innings in this big game. 4-3 for the Orioles. Plunk coming in. We'll be back. John Miller and Joe Morgan back here in Baltimore. 4-3 for the Orioles in the last of the 6. Now coming up at 4 o'clock on ESPN2 will be Game 1, the Braves and Dodgers. And of course that game will start at 4:15 at Dodger Stadium, but ESPN2 will begin coverage at 4 o'clock. And of course, following the Orioles-Indians ball game here on ESPN, we too will be taking you to Dodger Stadium for that ball game. Orel Hershiser had a meeting out there. Jim Warfield, the trainer, and manager Mike Hargrove, and they took him out. And now Jim Plunk has come in, and he throws a good fastball to B.J. Surhoff for strike 1. And Plunk just had an outstanding season for Cleveland. He kind of picked up the role this year that Tavares had last year, and he was outstanding at it. Tough to hit. Look at those numbers. I mean, 77 2/3 innings and only 56 hits allowed. Outstanding. Plus 85 strikeouts in 77 2/3.
And he has a very good fastball, good slider. As long as he can stay ahead of the hitters, he's in good shape. His problem sometimes it gets a little erratic.
Reach for and hit foul in the air off the third base side by Surhoff. Now Orel Hershiser went 5 innings. He gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned. This was his 13th start in postseason play. The only time he's ever given up more runs in a postseason game than he gave up today was last year in the World Series versus Atlanta in Game 5. He gave up 5 runs, 4 earned in that ball game, and he won that game over Maddox 5-4. 1 ball and 2 strikes, the count to Surhoff. There's a high fly ball deep into right field toward the scoreboard. Ramirez there makes the catch right at the base of the big wall out there. Well, that's a very inviting target for any left-handed hitter.
Well, it's a breaking ball, and he has to reach for it just a little bit. See, he's a little bit out front. See how he extends a little farther trying to get to it, and that took a little of the drive off the ball, and he knows right away that he didn't get all of it. He's hoping that it'll get off the wall, but it did not. But the speed of that pitch fooled him just a little bit and had him out front.
Surhoff now 0 for 3 in this ball game. And here is Mark Parent. And the Cleveland bullpen is busy again. The left-handed batting, Brady Anderson, is on deck. Parent is 1 for 2 in the game. Ball 1 outside. There's Alan Embry, the hard-throwing left-hander. Pitched here yesterday. And he is up again today. Mike Hargrove. This Cleveland bullpen has been a real source of strength for them these last 2 years. Good fastball to the outside at the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike from Eric Plunk. 6th inning for Plunk. That may be a little earlier than Hargrove would like to use him.
Well, but again, this is such an important game, not only to Cleveland, but to the Orioles.
Well, he tried to power that one, but got under it, fouling it back to the screen. 1 ball and 2 straight. Yeah, this whole game is a little early for Cleveland. I mean,
you're right.
They got to be ready from the get-go on a day like today in a must-win situation.
Let's take a look at this. That's his fastball, and he fouled it straight back, 94 miles an hour. Good fastball.
There's that breaking ball, a little bit low.
I tell you what, if you're a right-handed hitter and Plunk's out there throwing as hard as he does, you almost have to give him the breaking ball. You say, I'm going to have to look fastball, and if he makes a good pitch with the breaking ball, I'm out.
And Parent stays alive. Brady Anderson on deck. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, yesterday the Orioles jumped out to a 4-1 lead. Cleveland came storming back with a 2-run 4th inning to make it 4-3, and it stayed that way until the 6th inning. That's when Baltimore scored 5 times, knocking Nagy out of the box. Bobby Bonilla hit the grand slam in the 6th inning yesterday. There's a slider, got him looking.
Well, see, he was taking my approach. I would have been, if I'm right-handed, I probably would have been out as well.
Now Brady Anderson. Game 1 yesterday, he led off against Nagy. Home run. His first postseason at bat. And then today against Hershiser in the 5th inning with a 1-0 game. As Dan Patrick says, gone. Well, now Anderson tries it out against Eric Plunk. 2 down, nobody on. Last of the 6th. 4-3, the Orioles ahead. Anderson has also had a single today. He's 2 for 3. Slider in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Orioles. 3 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for Cleveland. A big error right now. I mean, that's the difference in the game. The 1 unearned run on the Seitzer error back in the 1st inning.
But I don't think we've seen all the scoring that's going to be done in this ball game yet, John.
Brady he's a leadoff man who had more extra base hits than singles. 92 extra base hits, 80 singles. They used to tell him here, we want you to be more like Brett Butler. We want you to hit singles to left. We want you to bunt more often. And Brady said, well, I'm not like Brett Butler. I'm bigger. I'm stronger than Brett. And eventually, when Johnny Oates became the manager here, spring training, said, if you can show me that you can get on base, that's what I'm looking for. I don't care how you do it. Show me you can do it. Do it your way.
Well, I know Davey Johnson loves the big fly. He had 40 himself in the big league. So
43.
He can appreciate that.
He had a big breakthrough year like that. 1973. He hit more homers than Hank Aaron that year for Atlanta.
Until this year, they were the only team there in the history to have 3 guys hit over 40. Darrell Evans, Hank Aaron, and Davey Johnson, but the Colorado Rockies matched him this year.
Davey set a record for second baseman that year that still stands. Anderson on 3-0, and that looked like that big home run cut.
Well, John, being honest with you, if you're going to swing 3-0, you should have a big home run cut. I mean, 3-0, you shouldn't be hitting a single in left field because you can take a walk and do that. Yeah, as the guys say, 3-0, if you're going to swing, take a wall cut. And that's a wall cut.
Yeah, he reached
that's
back.
Okay.
He reached back a little extra there.
If the manager lets you hit 3-0 with no one on base, you're not up there trying to hit a single.
3-1 now. 2 down and nobody on. Zeal is on deck. Did he swing? Yes, he did. Was that a changeup?
Something off speed. It was not his fastball, and that now at least they're showing me something. They're showing me something that they believe that this guy can hurt them. That's a changeup. You can see his fingers, how they're extended right down at the bottom.
3-2 now to Anderson. Yes. Strike 3 called, a fastball to the inside. So Plunk comes back to get him. Big inning for Plunk after the Indians mounting the comeback to get back in it, and he shut him down. Miller and Joe Morgan in Baltimore. Game 2 of the American League Division Series. And right now it's anybody's game. 4-3 for Baltimore. We head into the 7th. Manny Ramirez, the powerful right-handed hitter, stands in. And a sinker for a strike. Now we saw Erickson, the sinker baller. Seemed like he just got all ground balls the first 4 innings of the game. But the last couple of innings, the Indians started getting the ball up in the air against him. His pitches starting to get a little bit higher. And it really started with Ramirez, who hit a deep fly ball to left center in the 5th inning. Ramirez 0 for 2 in the game with 2 fly ball outs. In there, strike 2 call.
You see, that's the Erickson that we saw the first few innings of this ball game. He was keeping the ball down. He still has good movement on his pitches. There you see the first time through the lineup, the second time, and the third time you see they've hit him a little bit. But that's natural that they're going to improve. Not necessarily hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but there should be some improvement after you've seen a pitcher 2 or 3 times.
1 ball and 2 strikes now, missing with the slider. And that 3 for 5, by the way, that was Lofton, Seitzer, Tomey, Belfranco. Those first 5 hitters had been shut down through this series until the 6th inning today. Lofton got it started with a 1-out single. Seitzer brought him home after a couple of steals. Then Tomey singled and Bell homered. 1-2 the count. Struck him out.
Beautiful sinker there from Erickson.
Fans tomorrow at 7 Eastern turn to ESPN2 to start your college football weekend with a weekend kickoff show. Then at 7:30 Eastern, turn back to ESPN to catch the 9th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers led by Peyton Manning as they take on Ole Miss. That's Tennessee and Mississippi tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Sandy Alomar right back to Erickson. And Sandy is now 0 for 3 in this game. Just like that, 2 down, and Davey Johnson has to be very heartened to see Erickson come back from a rough inning throwing like this.
You know, and a lot of times, well, you know, fans at home say, well, how can he be so bad one inning and so good the next? Well, what happens is a lot of times you get your release point changes. Maybe you get a little tired as the game wears on, and you drop your shoulder a little bit, drop your arm, and the ball doesn't sink as much. You get under it a little bit rather than on top of it.
Omar Vizquel 0 for 2. Shows bunt, takes up and away. You know, really, he's the 8th place hitter. He could do a great job here just getting on base. And then even if Vizcaino goes down, they get to have Lofton lead off the 8th inning.
And that's exactly what you would like in a tie ball, in a 1-run ball when you're down by 1. And also in a tie ball game, you want your leadoff hitter to be leading off. That's why he's hitting leadoff. You want him there leading off your inning because he activates things for your ball club.
And I mention that because usually with 2 down and nobody on, you don't expect the guy to be bunting. You expect him to go up there and try to get himself in a scoring position somehow. 2-1 the count to Vizquel.
And the good movement is back on that Erickson sinker, so they found out the cause, whatever it was. The ball is moving well again and sinking.
Just inside, 3-1. Awfully close on that one. Albert Bell. He had not gotten the ball out of the infield in 6 series at bats until in the 6th inning he launched a 2-run homer to make it a 1-run game. Well, Vizquel didn't even have to do anything. The first walk by Erickson. Go explain that. Pat Dobson, I'm sure, is having a hard time figuring
right. But again, it sounds simple, but he may just lose his release point just for a second again. And I mean, obviously he had it the first 2 hitters this inning, and then he just loses it a little bit, and the ball sails a little bit on him. Everybody thinks that to throw a sinker, you get under, but to throw a sinker, you have to get on top of the ball.
Now Vizcaino. Even if Vizcaino makes it out now, the 8th inning will see Lofton, Seitzer, and Tomey. Of course, Vizcaino, if he gets aboard here, Lofton is also a guy who can drive in some runs.
Vizquel, I think, is in a situation like Lofton was. Hey, let's take it. I mean, make something happen. I mean, he can steal a base. Go ahead and steal it.
And Erickson's been fairly easy to get a jump against. For the first, I mean, he got that kind of that big leg kick, and he does not change it. The runners on. We saw that with Lofton. I mean, Lofton got the jump both times in his steals in the 6th inning. Parent did not make a throw on either steal attempt. 2 down. Vizquel at first. He stole 35 times during the year. And there's a strike. 0-1 to Vizcaino. He singled in the 3rd inning. and struck out in the 6th. Erickson, when he pitched this year, there were 32 steals against him, most in the American League. Outside. His teammate David Wells allowed 26 steals in his starts, but Erickson was even worse. We say against the pitcher, because usually they get the jump on the pitcher. On the same staff, Mike Messina allowed 5 steals in his games. So obviously he would do a little bit better job. Messina, by the way, goes in game 3. He's the Orioles' 19-game winner against Jack McDowell, the 2 former Stanford stars, one-time teammates at Stanford. Head-to-head at the Jake, 4 o'clock Friday on ESPN. Strike 2 on the outside. And still Vizquel not making a move from first base.
I'm a little surprised because Vizcaíno has worked this deep into the count, and he's had every opportunity to steal if he was going to go.
Two down with a man at first. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. 4-3, Baltimore ahead of Cleveland. We're in the 7th inning. And Vizquel goes back. There goes Vizquel. The pitch was high. The throw. Swing! Pretty good tag there by Ripken on a low throw. Looked like he dug it out of the dirt, but a little bit late.
Well, Parent had a pretty good pitch to throw, and the pitch was up, and he made a pretty accurate throw, but Vizquel made it. But I guess the point I would, the question I would ask is why wait until it's 2-2? Now you only give the guy 1 shot at driving you in. As you can see, the throw is a little late, but very close.
Very close. Tying run at second now. And a foul ball and a slider in above the hands. 2-2 the count to Vizcaíno. In other words, again, he's got a better chance of driving him in before he's got 2 strikes on him.
Right. I believe as a base stealer, you're obligated to try to steal second base before 2 strikes. Then you give the guy a legitimate shot at driving you in. Right now, he's on the defense. You know, he can't be aggressive.
3-2. Now Lofton is on deck, and suddenly Scott Erickson is in danger, maybe being out of this game. Jesse Orozco, a left-hander, is up in the Baltimore bullpen.
That'll be a decision for Davey Johnson, but I don't think you can let Erickson pitch to Lofton with runners at first and second in this ball game, a 1-1 ball game.
He had 2 down and nobody on with the 8th and 9th hitters up. He walked Vizquel. 3-2 pitch, and he walked them both. His only walks of the game, and they were the 2 final men he faced. And so Lofton comes up not in a spot to try and get something started, but this time to try and get the Indians back at least into a tie. Orozco, the veteran lefty, coming in. Number 47. 2 men on, 2 men out. We'll be back. ESPN's coverage of the 1996 American League Division Series is brought to you by Valvoline Durablend, the #1 selling semi-synthetic motor oil. Back here at Camden Yards, the sun has gone away. The overcast has settled in once again, and the Baltimore fans are getting nervous here. Here's a reminder that tonight at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, join Roy Firestone for an up-close special for the ESPN Club at Disney World. Firestone's guests include Don Shula, Isaiah Thomas, and the great Mariners superstar shortstop Alex Rodriguez, the batting champ of the American League. That's an up-close special tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. And there's the veteran, Jesse Orozco. I mean, he was still pitching when you played, didn't he?
Yes. Jesse is a little tough on left-handers because it's hard to pick the ball up. He hides the ball a little bit from you, and you don't pick it up like as quickly as you'd like. And he throws a variety of breaking pitches and a sinker.
When he comes out in a tight spot, there's the possible tying run of the game, Vizquel. He's at second base. And the possible go-ahead run, Vizcaíno at first base. Vizquel runs real well. And the man he's coming in to face is Kenny Lofton, now striding to the plate. Lofton is 2 for 3. A bunt single in the third, and then he started the 3-run 6th-inning rally with a base hit. Stole a couple of bases. Scored on an infield out, but he is only 1 for 11 lifetime against Orozco. Now Zeal is playing very shallow at third base here. Although you wouldn't figure Lofton to be bunting at this particular time with 2 down and a chance to drive in the tying run of the game. The Baltimore bullpen very busy. Orozco goes to work, perhaps just to face this one man. The man on deck, Seitzer, a right-handed hitter. 2 on, 2 out, 7th inning. A game that Baltimore once led 4-0. Baltimore now leads 4-3. Slider for a strike.
And Kenny not happy with that call. You can tell whether a guy is picking the ball up from a left-handed pitcher. We can tell here by just the way that Kenny strides his movement. And there you see the slider breaking over the outside corner and for strike 1. And he took that pitch pretty well. He kept his front shoulder in and everything, so looked like he picked the ball up pretty well against him.
Way outside. 1-1. Orozco came into the game in the 7th inning yesterday to face Jim Thome, and he hit him. And then was removed from the game with Albert Bell coming up. Orozco had a very fine year for the Orioles. Now 39 years old. He had a 2-game stretch back in April. As you see, Matthews and Benitez, 2 right-handers warming up. Orozco gave up 12 runs in 2 games and was outstanding most of the rest of the year. Run average well below 2 for the rest of the season. Vizquel is the possible tying run. Trying to get the big jump so he can be sure and score on a base hit. Swing 2, a slider on the outside. Lofton didn't seem to like that call much.
No, Lofton thought that pitch broke off the plate outside. He thought the first one was low, but you know, that's what Orozco's going to do. He's going to stay out there away from him. It may sound stupid, but because he hit Thome yesterday, if I was the hitter, I would get closer. I would have gotten closer to the plate because he's not going to hit you. He's going to throw breaking balls away until he got 2 strikes, at least.
You never sound stupid. 2 on, 2 out. Low one outside.
Well, you know he's not going to risk. He wouldn't. He may come inside now because he's got 2 strikes, but to start the at-bat, you know the last thing he wants to do is hit you because he hit Thome yesterday. So, I mean, those are the things you have to think about and say, hey, I'm going to get closer to the plate and try to take that outside breaking ball away from him.
He's thrown in 4 consecutive sliders to the outside. Davey Johnson trusting his veteran lefty to get it done here. Struck him out. He got it done. Two men stranded. The Orioles still have the 1-run lead. Todd Zeal, Roberto Alomar, and Rafael Palmeiro coming up. Baltimore 4, Cleveland 3. Game 2 of the American League Division Series between Baltimore and Cleveland. 4-3, Baltimore ahead. Todd Zeal leads it off against Plunk. Slider for ball 1. As Plunk goes to work here in the 7th inning, the Cleveland bullpen is very busy. Zeal will be followed by the switch-hitting Alomar, and then the left-handed batting Palmeiro. Plunk retired the Orioles in order in his first inning, the 6th inning. Zeal 0 for 3 today. Called a strike with a fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike. In the bullpen, the left-hander, the veteran Paul Assenmacher. The right-hander, the young Julian Tavares. Eric Plunk. Strike, and it's 1-2. Plunk, he looks so innocent with those glasses, the baby face. He throws so hard, he gets so many strikeouts. Looks so innocent, throws so macho. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Whatever that means. Here's a pop foul off to the right. I bet nobody's ever said that about it.
I understood what you meant.
That's what I like about you. You and I, we speak the same language.
Yeah.
Joe always says, I have no idea what you just said, but I agree. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Too high. 2-2 now.
Well, you understood when I said this may sound stupid, but I would move closer to the plate. You understood that.
I understood that. Todd Zeile, 2 hits yesterday, hitless today. And a pop-up. Second baseman Vizcaíno in shallow center. 1 away. Now the switch hitting Alomar. The Braves and Dodgers will be getting started very shortly at Dodger Stadium, game 1 of that series in the National League Divisional Series. And you'll be able to see that on ESPN2. And of course, we will be switching you to that ball game immediately following this one on ESPN. So if you're interested in that ball game, you want to get to it, well, it's on ESPN2.
I don't see how you can leave this one, though. This is a good one.
Yeah. Joe and I prefer that you stay with us. Roberto Alomar, a walk, a ground out, and a fly ball. He has scored a run. He takes high. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Well, the sun is trying to break back through again, which creates the shadows again. Plunk is standing out on the edge of the sunlight. Alomar in the deep shadows. Slider. Should be an easy play for Vizcaíno. Out number 2. And Plunk is making it look easy. 5 in a row retired. See the overcast here. The sun has broken through a couple of times today. We had a rain delay before we were able to get started. A 37-minute rain delay. Now Rafael Palmeiro. But it's been a gray day for the most part, which perhaps is what you expect from October baseball. It's supposed to look gray with the lights on. Here is Palmeiro. He has walked, struck out, and singled and scored a run. 1 for 2. Too high. Palmeiro, 39 home runs. A dangerous man in this spot where 1 run could be so big. Cleveland came fighting back to get to within 1, and they'll have their big hitters up in the 8th inning. Seitzer, Thome, and Bell are coming up in the 8th. Too low to Palmeiro. 2-0 the count. Bonilla is on deck. He would be next. 2 down, nobody on in the Baltimore 7th. Atlanta and the Dodgers just about to get started on ESPN2 later tonight. Texas and the Yankees game 2 at Yankee Stadium on Fox. Palmeiro, sharp ground ball foul, and the count is 2-1. Now, yesterday we saw the Cleveland bullpen get shelled. Nagy left the ball game. He left with a score of 4-3. And of course the final score was 10-4 Baltimore. But now Plunk has done a great job coming on for Hershiser. Nagy. Palmeiro foul again. 2-1 the count, or 2-2 now the count to Palmeiro after the 2 foul balls. Nagy could well get another shot at the Orioles later on in the series. Maybe game 5 if there is one, or even game 4 if Cleveland needs it. David Wells could well come back in game 4 for the Orioles. They may well go with 3 starters in this series. Meaning Wells and Erickson would both come back with short rest if the series goes that far. 2 down, nobody on. 2-2 to Palmeiro. Makes him wait. 48,970 the paid attendance, the largest paid attendance in the young history of this ballpark. 2-2 pitch. It's softly off the edge of the mound. Barehanded pickup, Vizquel. He got him at first base. Brilliant. We saw so much last year in the postseason from Vizquel. Seitzer, Thome, and Bell coming up. It's a 1-run game for Baltimore. Top of the 8th inning now. It's a 1-run ball game, game 2. The Orioles leading this series 1-0. A must-win game for the Cleveland Indians. A gray, wet day in Baltimore. And the series will soon shift to Cleveland. The question is, will it be 2-0 for the Orioles, or will it be 1-1? And Cleveland now tries to go about the business of coming back again. Seitzer drove in their first run with an infield out of the 6th inning. He'll be followed by Thome and then Bell. The power is coming up. Up the middle. Base hit on the first pitch from Orozco. Davy Johnson stayed with his left-hander, obviously, with the thought of Orozco staying in to pitch to Thome, but he took a risk there, having him face the right-handed batting Seitzer, and Seitzer's aboard.
Well, we take a look at it here. Seitzer gets the first pitch fastball, and he lines it into center field. And the risk you take, John, is if you have a one-run lead and you're in the 8th inning, I want the bases to be empty when Thome hits. I want the bases to be empty when Bell hits. And I guess I would think that you'd have to go out with a right-hander to make sure I got Seitzer out. And then if he's out, then there's nothing Thome can do but tie the ball game. But now your pitcher is under a little pressure because Thome can untie the ball. He can tie it up and then go put his team ahead. So I think when you get to the late innings, you want to make sure that the sluggers are hitting with the bases empty.
There's Jeff Kent talking to Davey Nelson, the first base coach. He has come in to act as a pinch runner for Kevin Seitzer at first base. So Seitzer, 2 for 4 and a run batted in, is finished for the day. And now Jim Thome, the possible go-ahead run. In the bullpen, the left-hander is Arthur Rhodes, number 53. The right-hander, Armando Benitez, 2 hard throwers. But right now, Davy Johnson staying with the veteran lefty. Orozco against the slugger, Jim Thome. And you can see there, Thome has never hit Orozco. Never had a hit against him. Well, Slider, ball 1.
That explains the reason why he definitely wanted Orozco to pitch to Thome.
On the other hand, Joe, 0 for 9 with 6 strikeouts, but also 5 walks.
Yeah.
So he's reached base rather often against Orozco.
Well, remember, one thing about baseball, there are different ways to get to the end. And my philosophy would be if I have a 1-run lead, I want to make sure that the sluggers hit with no one on base.
Bell is on deck, and the slugger's standing in. That slider's in there for a strike. Of course, Orozco cannot afford to walk in. And he is the possible go-ahead run. That would push the tying run into scoring position with Albert Bell coming up. Albert Bell, a 2-run homer in the 6th to bring Cleveland back to within 1. 4-3 Baltimore, top of the 8th. The crowd itself very quiet, very tense. And back to the bag is Kent at first base. And Kent's the pinch runner. I guess he's faster than Seitzer, but I don't remember him as a great speedster in the National League.
Well, I'm just wondering, Kent's also a pretty good hitter. And, you know, that you might want to use for a pinch hitter later in the ball game, especially if you tie it up and this thing goes extra innings. But
and the only other right-handers off the bench to pinch hit would be Pena, a catcher, and Candela, a switch hitter. They're not going to use Pena, I don't think. Shallow center, Anderson got a late break, and he won't get it. Anderson started back. He misjudged the ball, and the Indians are in business. 2 men on, nobody out.
Well, he did not get a good jump, but I'm not so sure he could have caught this ball because when Thome's up, you've got to be pretty deep. Takes a big swing. But see how deep Brady is in the first place. He did not get a good jump. You said that correctly. But that was quite a ways. I mean, the ball still bounced quite a ways in front of him.
So the first time in his career, Thome gets a hit against Orozco, and Benitez coming in to face Bell.
Braves-Dodgers game underway. 2 outs in the first. Ramon Martinez with a 2-2 count on Chipper Jones. Struck him out. Dodgers coming to the plate against Smoltz. It's underway on ESPN2. We'll get it back to ESPN after this game.
All right. And here in Baltimore, 4-3. And the ball game very much in the line, or on the line, as the young right-hander Armando Benitez comes on. A real hard thrower. He's got a slider, but he's also very erratic. He had some arm trouble. Spent a long time on the disabled list this year, and when he came back, he was outstanding. 14 in the 3rd innings, only 7 hits allowed at 20 homers, but also he doesn't always know where it's going.
And remember, Bell is 0 for 5. A lot of guys 0 fors against this guys.
Kent at second base, Thome at first base, and here is Albert Bell. 0 for 5 lifetime against Benitez. This is definitely power versus power. Benitez pitched on Saturday at the Sky Dome in the 9th inning with a 1-run lead and gave a home run up to Ed Sprague in that ballgame to tie the game. He threw a sinker, and it went right down the middle of the plate. Sometimes he is erratic. Low, 96 miles per hour, but now he's behind Albert Bell. And we saw Albert Bell in one of our early Sunday night telecasts this year against one of the great hard-throwing relievers in all of baseball, Troy Percival. Powered 2 fastballs past him, and then Bell hit the third one over the center field wall. Now the young right-hander has extraordinary pressure in his shoulders, and Albert Bell has everything going his way.
Well, I think this is one of those where, as Bob Gibson would say, you just reach back and leave everything you got on the mound. 2-0, he's got to come with the fastball, but don't throw a mediocre fastball. Give it the best one you have.
So Benitez shake off the sign, and after he did, Albert Bell asked for timeout, and he backed away from the plate.
As a hitter, you're thinking mentally he's going to throw me a fastball 2-0 because he's missed with 2, and then he shakes it off. It makes you think, well, maybe he's not going to throw me a fastball, and you want to reset your own mind.
3-0. On deck is Julio Franco. And Davy Johnson without Alan Mills, a veteran right-hander that he would like for this kind of a situation. But Mills, with a groin muscle pull, is not really available. He tried to pitch on Sunday in Toronto, and Johnson was not satisfied with what he saw from Mills that day. 3-0 to Albert Bell.
Well, I think you have to make him take. Albert wants to make sure he's going down to check with the third base coach.
Jeff, let's have a talk.
Yeah, I think he wants to make sure. I feel like you have to make him take because Benitez has been so erratic. The last thing you want him to do is swing at a bad pitch and hit into a double play. So I think you have to make him take one pitch. He has not thrown a strike yet. And Albert Bell can hit as well 3-1 as he can 3-0.
There's Kent, the possible tying run. He's at second base. Tomey, the possible go-ahead run at first base. Nobody out in the 8th inning. 3-0. Yeah, he took it. He tried to take it downtown.
I tell you what, the game really changes from pitch to pitch, doesn't it? This is a 3-0 fastball. I guess, the thinking could be that he's going to ease up and just lay one in there. He doesn't. He throws him a pretty good fastball, but now the count is 3-1 anyway. But you never let a guy get out of the jam by just only throwing one strike.
Yeah. 3-1 now. Foul ball. 97 miles per hour on the Jugs gun. 3-2. But again, it takes more than 2 to erase Albert Bell. Well, we're seeing the power show now. And the crowd tries to inspire the young Benitez. Bell and Benitez, it's 3-2. Pop foul. Back into the upper deck.
Well, you have to give Benitez credit, John. He has come back throwing. He has not eased up to throw a strike. That last pitch, 98 miles an hour. I mean, he's turning it loose, which is what you're supposed to do. When you have to throw a fastball to a slugger, you better let it go. You can't be tentative with it.
Bell making him wait. Just now, back into the batter's box. Johnson in a hard roll. The game perhaps itself on the line right now. A high foul that will go out of play. A soaring fly ball down the left field line.
It may look like Bell is taking good hard swings, but he's really not. He's starting his bat and he's trying to catch up. This ball is, he's throwing well enough. So he's not attacking this ball. He's just getting there. That pitch there, you see, he's using his body to help get the bat through the hitting zone. Benitez is throwing very hard.
He's thrown 4 straight strikes. 2 of them fouled off, and he walked him. He tried a slider and walked him. Bell had not caught up with a fastball, but he tried to fool him with a slider, and instead, the bases are loaded. And suddenly, Joe, here are the Orioles ahead, and it's almost as if it's the Orioles on the defensive. It's almost as if Cleveland's already leading at this point.
And when you blow, well, I shouldn't say blow it because you haven't done that yet, but when you lose a 4-run lead this late in the ball game at your home field, obviously you look worse than you're really playing. It just looks like Cleveland's in control, but they're not yet. But they do have a good hitter for this situation up there. Julio Franco knows how to hit, and he's a very good situation hitter.
Been hitting good fastballs for years and years.
Right.
And he's got a little power, too, if you make a mistake with him. As you saw there, he's hit 6 grand slams over the year. 14 homers all told this year. So now a double play ball would get the tying run home. The Orioles are playing it for the double play. Another big slugger on deck, Manny Ramirez. It started when Seitzer hit the first pitch of the inning from Orozco to center field for a single. Then Tomey followed with a single. That was it for Orozco. Bell has come on and drawn a walk from Benitez. Nobody out. Check swing, and it's strike one. The base runners, Kent, the possible tying run, now at third base. At second base, Tomey, a base hit away from maybe putting Cleveland ahead. And Albert Bell over at first base. Nobody out in the 8th inning.
Well, the Cleveland Indians didn't win 99 games by quitting when they get down in the ball game.
Way inside. Now you see the erratic Benitez. 1-1. He got together with pitching coach Pat Dobson this spring. They worked on changing his motion a little bit, trying to simplify. He had very bad mechanics. Put extra pressure on his shoulder and elbow. And they became so close in the spring, he started referring to Dobson as Papa, like his surrogate father. But then he got hurt. That is into center field and deep. Anderson with a nice catch, but Kent will easily score the tying run. And heading for third, Tomey, but Alomar throws into second base. It is 4-4.
Good base running there by Tomey. He was close enough to the bag that when Brady Anderson caught the ball off balance going back, he was able to tag up and move over to third base. But as I said, Julio Franco, very good situation hitter. He was sure he was going to get the ball in the air. Now, Brady does a good job of making this catch, but he's running away from the infield. So Tomey knows he has time to go back and tag up and get over to third base. Brady breathing hard there, but he goes back and makes the catch. And there's Franco. He's not unhappy. He's unhappy he didn't get a base hit, but he knows he did his job. Not only did he get the run home from third, but he moved the runner from second over to third base with less than 2 outs.
So now he's put him in position, having tied the ball game, that another fly ball could put them ahead.
That's what you call a real good out. He moved 2 bases there. One to the plate and one over to third base.
Now Ramirez, another guy, a young guy like Benitez, but he has hurt Benitez at times in the past. 2 for 5 with a home run against him. The infield looking for the double play ball. Ramirez is 0 for 3 in this game. Strike, and it's all changed up on him there. Bell at first base. Bell stole 11 bases during the regular season. So if they don't keep a close eye on him, what do you think, Joe? I mean,
well, the way they've played it so far, I don't believe he would steal. I think they're going to let give Ramirez a chance to hit a fly ball, because if he goes and he's thrown out, it really takes you out of a big inning. I think they have to let Ramirez go ahead and swing. When you're on the road, you have to play for this big inning that you have going.
And a changeup in there. He's got a little bit of a forkball that he toyed with back in the spring. I'm wondering if maybe that was it. 0-2 the count.
Well, we'll take a look at it, but it's an excellent pitch. It's knee-high over the outside corner. No, that looks like a slider or a cut fastball. Could be a cutter because it didn't look like a big slider.
86 miles an hour. Probably a slider at that speed.
Yeah.
Tomey at third, Bell at first. 1 out. It's now tied in the 8th. He struck him out.
That may have been the fork ball or something. That one he took something off of.
That's a real big out. And that's Pat Dobson, stuff that he has taught Benitez.
Well, it's that same pitch, only this one is off speed. That looked like a fork ball. That one looked like a fork ball. That was not the same. Yeah, that pitch is moving down. It looked like some kind of splitter or fork ball. Good pitch there from Benitez.
Well, a big out, but still the inning is not over. Here is Sandy Alomar. But that's a real big out because Ramirez had a chance to put the Indians ahead without even getting a hit.
Now you may see a situation where they may send Albert Bell, you know, in this with a runner at first and third and 2 down.
A strike. Well, we've had 2 different games here. For 5 innings, it was all Orioles. Ahead 4-0 after 5. Now suddenly, it's the Orioles on the defensive. They're trying just to hold the tie. There's Tomey, the possible go-ahead run. He's at third base. Albert Bell is at first base. Palmeiro on the bag with him. 1 strike to count to Alomar. It's saved there by Mark Parent on a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. 2 out, 2 on, a run in the 8th. It is 4-4, a game that the Orioles once led 4-0. Alomar has hit 2 balls back to the pitcher and is flying out to left center. He's 0 for 3 today. 1 for 6 in the series. And now strike 2 in the foul ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And all around Camden Yards now, the Orioles fans rise to their feet, almost as if through the sheer force of their will they can get Benitez through this. The veteran Sandy Alomar. He knocked the mask right off the face of Greg Cost there. 96 miles an hour again with that fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Alomar. The count remains. Omar Vizquel on deck.
Well, when you have to swing harder to catch up with that pitch, that tells you that the pitcher's winning the battle. When a guy throws hard, you don't have to swing hard. As you see, the mask comes off of Greg Koch. You just have to swing quicker.
A foul ball. That off-speed pitch, and he just did pull it foul. It wasn't foul by much.
Yeah, that may not have been a real wise pitch there because he was having trouble catching up with the fastball. And then to throw him something off speed, that kind of speeds up his bat because he can reach for it.
So don't get too clever.
No.
1 and 2 to Alomar. 2 on, 2 out. Tomey at third, Bell at first. Both ready to go on anything. A tie game. And again, the fastball fouled back and out of play.
There's also the risk, John, and when you're trying to throw those splitters and different pitches in this situation, you may bounce one. And a wild pitch would be just like a base hit here for the Cleveland Indians. So, I mean, you've got a good enough fastball. I think you need to go down with your best pitch.
Tomey and Bell get their leads. He went to the off-speed, but popped him up. Sandy Alomar to his brother Roberto Alomar. Pretty good job all told by Benitez. Cleveland gets just the 1. But now it is tied. Last of the 8th inning. And power coming for Baltimore. Bonilla, Ripken, and Murray. Stay with us.
Over on ESPN2, the opener between the Dodgers and Braves, Fred McGriff, is single 3-2 pitch to Ryan Klesko, struck him out. They send McGriff on the hit and run. He's gone. Lopez lined out to end the inning. Dodgers batting bottom of the 2nd, scoreless. Back to Camden Yards.
And they may be scoreless more often than not with those pitchers and those 2 teams. And the Dodgers and Braves just starting in their series today. But here, it's must-win time for Cleveland, and the Orioles well feel perhaps even the same because they're going to Cleveland after today. There's Jeff Kent now in the ball game at first base after coming in as a runner for Seitzer, and Bobby Bonilla. Then Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray coming up against Eric Plunk, who has not allowed a base runner in 2 innings. Bonilla 0 for 2 with a walk in this game. Changed up on him, ended his 0-1. Both bullpens are busy. It's a 4-4 game, a game that the Orioles had led since the first inning. But Plunk has really helped Cleveland turn this game around. It is 1 ball and 1 strike. In the bullpen, the right-hander Tavares and the left-hander Assenmacher. After Bonilla, you've got the right-handed batting Ripken and then the switch hitting Eddie Murray. The outfield very deep and straight away. 2-1 to Bonilla. A little nervous myself, Joe.
Yeah, right, John. And then we're getting to a situation where one mistake could mean the series, and that's what makes it difficult to play under these type of conditions.
But also, this is what it's all about in October.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Wouldn't have it any other way.
3-1. Yeah. May not need a manicurist for those nails by the end of this one. Plunk, 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, 2 groundouts, and a couple of balls in the air. He's retired everybody. A foul by Bonilla. Pretty good pitch on 3-1.
I guarantee you, John, there are hundreds of players sitting at home right now wishing that they were in Bonilla's position or Plunk's.
Cal Ripken on deck. 4-4 the score. And he changed up and walked him. A leadoff walk in a tie ball game, and that brings up Cal Ripken. Bonilla, the possible go-ahead run. And as Sparky Anderson used to say during a spot like this, in the 8th inning, if you're a manager, say, hey, 1 run, that's going to be the winning run if they score it.
Right. Well, that's the way you have to look at it, because if you can score a run, they only have 3 outs left in this ballgame if you score a run.
Bonilla will leave the game, and a pinch runner will go in, a much faster runner, and first base as Cal Ripken gets ready to bat. There's Mike Devereaux, the runner for Bonilla. He's fast, but he's not a base stealer.
Well, I guess the question here, John, is do you have Ripken bunt? You've seen the Orioles the entire season.
Well, he can bunt, and he's been asked to bunt in spots like this.
I think this is one of those situations where it'd be a good time to bunt.
Well, let's put more information in the mix.
Yeah, you're trying to win a world championship.
He's 5 for 35 lifetime against Plunk.
Okay.
Although he has a home run against him, he's never hit well against him. Tomey shortens up at third. There goes Devereaux. The hit and run is on. It's into the alleyway. Deep right center field. And that will keep Devereaux from scoring. An automatic double. Devereaux will have to be brought back. That was the go-ahead run. But Camden Yards played against the home team on that one.
Well, Davey Johnson is smarter than both of us, because that's the other option right there to put a hit and run on, and he did a great job, and this works better actually than the bunt.
Second hit of the game for Ripken, his second double of this series. In fact, Ripken has 5 hits in 2 games here. All right, more decisions to be made. First base is empty, and you got Eddie Murray. Do you walk him?
Well, I think you have to if you're the Indians, because it allows you to have a force out at the plate. Well, Plunk throws a strike, and that's what they wanted. They wanted him to throw a strike. Plunk throws a strike. Ripken puts it in play. He's trying to go the other way. The Indians had played it perfectly. They had the shortstop covering, so there was not a hole on the right side. He hits it the only place on the right side. It can be a fair ball, and it bounces up into the stands. Devereaux would have scored easily had the ball not bounced into the stands.
And, Joan, it's interesting. It's ironic in this ballpark, which was modeled after so many of the old ballparks in so many ways, but they have a rubberized warning track. And although Plunk was upset to see the ball hit so hard, he got a break when the ball hit that synthetic warning track, not a dirt warning track, but a rubber warning track with a lot of springy bounce on it. There's the Cleveland bullpen, Tavares and Assenmacher, and in the background, Randy Myers, the Orioles closer, warming up. They are going to walk Eddie Murray to load the bases, with B.J. Surhoff coming up next. There's ball 1, and the left-hander Assenmacher is ready in the Cleveland bullpen. Well, Murray hit a 2-out double in the 5th inning to drive in the Orioles' 4th run. He's had 2 hits today. And, of course, Hargrove has watched Eddie Murray drive in that big run in this spot too many times.
Well, not only that, I think you give yourself an opportunity to try to get out of this inning without any run score. What you do now is you have a force out at the plate, and I think you have to play your infield in and come to the plate. And with Eddie hitting, and if you don't walk him and let him hit, then you take away the force at the plate.
Ball 4 to Murray, the intentional walk. And he goes to first to load the bases with nobody out. And we'll soon see Mike Hargrove head out. There he is. He's got Assenmacher ready. Now, the Orioles have a right-handed hitter by the name of Pete Incaviglia on the bench. So we'll see. Surhoff, though, has hit Assenmacher well. We'll be back. Game 2 of the divisional series in the American League between the Orioles and Indians. Nothing settled. It is 4-4 with Baltimore with the bases loaded and nobody out in the last of the 8th inning. Meanwhile, at Dodger Stadium in the last of the 2nd inning, no score there. Game 1, the Braves and Dodgers. That ball game right now is being seen on ESPN2, and we will switch to that ball game immediately upon the conclusion of this game here. Eric Plunk, who was so strong for 2 innings, but then, Joe, perhaps a fatal mistake. We don't know yet, but perhaps a leadoff walk in a tie ball game in the 8th inning.
Well, whether they score or not, that's always a bad mistake. It may not be fatal, as you said, but it's a bad mistake anytime you, in a tie ball game, this late in the ball game, leading off the inning, you walk the hitter.
There's Mike Devereaux, Sam Perlaza, the coach, alongside. Cal Ripken at second, talking to his fellow shortstop, Vizquel. They both made some great plays today. And there's Eddie Murray at first base. Mike Hargrove and his coaching staff. Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, behind him. And B.J. Surhoff is going to be left up to face the left-hander Assenmacher, even though they have Pete Incaviglia, big right-handed slugger on the bench. However, Surhoff is 5 for 10 with a home run in his career against Assenmacher. Tough man to strike out. They don't need to get even a hit here to get the run home. A fly ball to the outfield could put Baltimore ahead. And Devereaux, the runner at third, is a fast runner. And as you predicted, Joe, Cleveland brings the infield in. Nobody out.
They have to assume that Devereaux is the winning run at this point.
Stride, and it's 0-1. B.J. Surhoff, the veteran, 2 home runs yesterday. And look at this. Just like Eddie Murray. In his career, he has been at his very best with the bases loaded.
But that first pitch is always the most important pitch. And Assenmacher got a strike with it. Now he can use his other pitches if he wants.
Right back to Assenmacher. Could be 2. There's 1. Back to first. And he throws it away. Here comes Ripken. And he will score from second base. 5-4 Orioles. What a terrible time for a huge error. And let's see if we have an argument from Cleveland that Surhoff was not in the running box.
Well, they're going to argue that, and he may not have been, but there was no interference. And you see Greg Koch saying no. And now he says 1 at a time. You guys talk 1 at a time.
Man, that was just what they wanted, a comebacker, and they get the 1, but a run still scores.
But the play was not handled properly. Watch, the timing is off from Assenmacher. He does not throw the ball, so he kind of pushes it. Now he sees that he has the rush, and he throws the ball on the inside. Now they're right, it's a tough thing to do, but if you throw that ball and hit BJ in the back, then they're going to call it. I mean, there's no doubt that BJ did not run on the outside of the line, but that play is very rarely called unless the ball hits it. And I know exactly, I mean, you're going to see he's running on the inside. You have to be on the outside of that line. He's on the inside. The Indians are correct, but that call is very rarely made unless the ball hits him in that situation right there.
All right, and they're still arguing that call, of course, but a second thought, Joe, what about the play by Kent going for the double play instead of maybe coming off the bag and making sure that he traps that ball and keeps it from getting past it?
Well, again, Jeff Kent is not a first baseman by trade either, but I mean, and Kent knows that he's right, and he is correct, but I'm going to be honest with you, very rarely is that play going to be called unless it looks like there's interference, unless the ball hits it. But again, the play was not handled. The timing was off from the time that Assenmacher started his throw to the plate. And what they're really arguing, see, if you watch Sandy Alomar Jr., he came out, he caught the ball, and then he's supposed to step inside, and that will give him a throwing lane. He did step inside, but Surhoff was running inside. All right, we're going to take a look here. Now, the timing is off a little bit here. Now, watch Assenmacher. He does not throw a snap throw to the plate. He kind of pushes it. See right there, he just pushes it to make sure. Now Alomar steps inside as he's supposed to, but he doesn't have a clear throwing lane because Surhoff is running on the inside.
Surhoff ended up at second. Eddie Murray ended up at third. Cal Ripken scored on the play. It is 5-4 Baltimore. There's Pete Incaviglia, who's gone into act as a pinch runner at second base, replacing Surhoff, which is unusual. And there's Murray, who got to second base, and we'll try and find out if Surhoff got a hurt on the play. Now another pinch hitter will come up for the Orioles. It will be Chris Hoyles, a 25 home run hitter during the year, to pinch hit for Mark Parent with first base open, and Brady Anderson, another left-handed hitter, on deck. It looked like Hargrove signaled to go ahead and put Hoyles on. So now if Alomar's throw had hit Surhoff,
then I guarantee you they would have made the call.
Because he did have a clear lane to make the throw, as you've explained. Manny Alexander will go over to third base to run for Murray. And Murray gets a big ovation as he heads off. There goes Eddie. And there's Alexander, number 6, along with Perlazo. Now he's a very fast runner. And of course Davey Johnson, I'm sure, does not feel comfortable with just a 1-run lead. He'd like to get that extra run home. Eddie Murray exchanging the handshakes as he gets back in. There's ball 1 to Hoyles. They're going to walk Chris Hoyles to set up the lefty-lefty percentage with a man who hit 50 home runs this year. This will be the second intentional walk at the end of the real irony. I mean, of everything that could have happened, the best thing for Cleveland was a comebacker to the pitcher, because that was one of the only ways they were going to get a double play.
You're right. 1, 2, 3 is the perfect situation with the bases loaded if you're Cleveland. But, you know, the breaks of the game are such that little things obviously make a big difference. And he was running on the inside of that line, and you're supposed to run on the outside. But to be honest with you, John, I would say most of the time players run straight down the line, and they do not run on the outside.
Yeah. And the bag itself, of course, is on the inside. Yeah.
And they're running toward the bag.
Brady Anderson has not done well against Ossenmacher the few times he's faced him. 1 for 8. But again, he does not necessarily need a hit here to get something done. Now Cleveland is going to play the middle infield for the double play against a man who does not often hit the double play ball. Brady Anderson. Kent is pulled in at first base. Tony shallow at third base. Way outside with a curveball. Anderson 2 for 4 today. A single and a home run. He has homered twice in this series now. By the way, the scoring on the Surhoff ground ball, they get the out at the plate, forcing Devereaux, and then the error to Alomar. No RBI in the play. Now it is 2-0 to Brady Anderson. We're in the last of the 8th inning. Cleveland had just tied the ball game in the first half of this inning. And now the Orioles have untied it. And they're threatening to get more. 1 out, 3 on. 3-0. Ossenmacher wanted that call.
Well, that's not the way to get it, by throwing your hands up.
Let's have a look.
And you'll see the ball is low and he throws his hands up like, where is it? That's not the way to do it by showing up the umpire.
3-1 now. Alexander at third base. Incaviglia at second base. And Hoyles at first base. 1 out. Brady Anderson, in addition to his 50 home runs this year, had 110 RBIs, but did not hit well with men on base. And he hits this one well enough to get a run home. Ramirez at the warning track. Alexander will speed home with that little bit of insurance. 6-4. Incaviglia takes third.
Ossenmacher drops down and throws a fastball toward the outside corner. Brady reaches out, and as you mentioned, he gets enough of it to score Alexander from third base. And the Orioles have a 2-run lead.
So Anderson only hit about .210 with men in scoring position this year. But he got the man home there without a hit. 6-4 for the Orioles. Tavares coming on to face Zeal.
Gary Miller with an update from Los Angeles. John Smoltz in a jam. 2 on, 2 out, facing Greg Gagnon. Full count, struck him out. Smoltz got out of it. Braves batting in the top of the third of a scoreless game that you'll see after the conclusion at Camden Yards. John?
All right, Gary. And here, 6-4 for the Orioles. 2 out, 2 on. The new pitcher, Julian Tavares. The right-hander to face Todd Zeal. With Incaviglia at third base. Hoyles at first base. Tavares, much different season this year. He was outstanding a year ago. After a while, they tried him in the rotation this year, and it only got worse. He even spent some time in the minor leagues. There's Incaviglia at third base. And Hoyles over at first. 2 runs in for the Orioles. More controversy here. Outside and low. The error by Alomar, allowing the Orioles to score the go-ahead run, even as it looked like Cleveland was well on its way to getting out of the jam altogether. But then Cleveland claiming, and as we saw the replay, that the runner going to first was inside that line. And that's a called strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Zeal is 0 for 4 in the game. O'Neill led off the inning with a walk. Ripken doubled. Murray walked intentionally. They had the bases loaded with nobody out. 2-1 to Zeal. And then Surhoff hit the comebacker. The worst scenario for the Orioles. The best for Cleveland. And then in the middle of the play, it blew up. And a run scored on the bad throw. And the argument. 3-1. The switch hitting Roberto Alomar is on deck. And Cleveland has more activity in its bullpen. Tavares may be on just to face the one man. Hargrove hoping that he'll get the one man out and end the inning. And he walked him. And again, the bases are loaded. 4th walk of the inning.
Don, let's take one more look at this play. Let's take a look. Ground ball right back to Ossenmacher. He kind of pushes it. He doesn't throw it as hard as he would like. Now right here, you see the runner is inside the line. You have to be outside this line when a play is being made on you. You have to be outside that line. Now, see, he blocks the view, in Alomar's opinion, of his throw to first base, and that's what Jeff Kent was arguing.
Here's Alomar. Tavares stays in. A strike. Alomar has walked, grounded out, flied out, and grounded out again. He is 0 for 3, but he has scored a run. One ball, 1 strike now. The bases are loaded. Incaviglia, the pinch runner at third base. Hoyles, who was a pinch hitter at second base, and Zeal, who just walked, is at first base. Baltimore has only 1 hit in the inning, the Ripken double. 4 walks plus an error. And that's a foul ball into the batter's box. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, a fateful play and a fateful umpiring decision, Joe.
Well,
may be the difference in this game.
Well, the only thing I will say, John, the Indians are their own worst enemy. In the 8th inning, they had the bases loaded. Remember, with no one out, they only scored the 1 run.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can point to that play and say this happened and that happened, but they had the opportunities. They got the ground ball back to the pitcher. They didn't execute.
Down the left field line, Albert Bell on the move. And it's in amongst the spectators out there. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes to Roberto Alomar.
And by the same token, I mean, the Orioles got a break, you're right, because they got the bases loaded and then hit the ball right back to the pitcher. But the Indians still had a chance in the top of the 8th inning to score more than the 1 run to tie. They didn't take advantage of it. And when you're on the road, you do not take advantage of it, you usually pay the price.
A ball and 2 strikes to Alomar. Palmeiro would be next. Base hit. Incaviglia scores. Hoyles being held up. The throw comes through, and they've got Alomar hung up now. Vizcaíno cut in behind him. Now Vizquel tags him out. Hoyles came way around third base and was late stopping, and I guess Alomar thought he was heading home. So the Orioles add another run. 7-4. We head to the ninth. Game 2 of the American League Division Series playoff between the Orioles and the Indians, and Baltimore goes to the ninth with a 7-4 lead now here at Camden Yards. Meanwhile, in Game 1 of the National League Series between the Braves and the Dodgers, no score in the last of the third inning at Dodger Stadium. Smoltz versus Ramon Martinez. That ball game is being televised right now on ESPN2, and we will switch you to Dodger Stadium right after the end of this ball game. Randy Myers, 31 saves in the year, the veteran closer. Got some work in effect yesterday, pitching the ninth inning in a 10-4 ball game. A lot of strikeouts for Myers this year. 74 strikeouts in 58 2/3 innings. Hoyles stays in to do the catching. Other changes also for the Orioles in the outfield. Incaviglia in left, and Mike Devereaux in right field. And Myers set to go to Vizquel. Ball 1.
Well, I come from the Yogi Berra school too, that it's never over till it's over. And when you have a team like the Cleveland Indians, they always have a chance of coming back.
Well, these guys at the bottom can get on base. Right. Then they get to that top of the order, and they're well capable of doing some damage at that point.
And all they need is a little help.
And Myers has often come on in ball games. That's been the bone of contention between Myers and his manager, Davey Johnson. The way Davey puts it very diplomatically is he would like to see Myers be a little more aggressive in the strike zone when first entering games.
Like that.
2-1 the count. Armando Benitez, the young right-hander that they were counting on before he got injured. That hurt their bullpen terribly when he got hurt. But today he justified the faith that they put on him in the spring. Benitez with the bases loaded, nobody out spot in the 8th inning, and he gave up just the 1 run with guys like Bell, Franco, Ramirez, Sandy Alomar coming up. He walked Bell to load the bases with the 1 out. Franco hit the sacrifice fly, and that's all they got. Now it is 7-4 for Baltimore in the 9th inning. You see Myers, Joe, he's been in the postseason before, and he has done extremely well.
Well, I think the first time he was part of that Cincinnati tandem, the Nasty Boys, Norm Charlton, Rob Dibble, and Randy Myers.
Pretty good bullpen there. In the air, Cal Ripken, 1 away. We're just getting revved up here in the postseason. Tomorrow on ESPN, 3:30 p.m. Baseball Tonight. Then Game 2 from Busch Stadium. The Padres and the Cardinals must win for the Padres. And then Game 2 tomorrow night on Fox at 8 o'clock. The Braves and the Dodgers. Game 2, whoever loses today, obviously, a must win. And then on ESPN, Game 3 of this series, the Orioles and the Indians. The 2 Stanford superstars, Messina and McDowell. And it may be, in every sense of the word, must win for Cleveland on Friday, which would certainly be incredible. But also keep in mind, just last year, the Seattle Mariners dropped 2 games in a row at New York and came back and won 3 in a row in Seattle. It doesn't happen often. But I guess Messina, the 19-game winner, will get that start against McDowell on Friday.
But the Indians will be in their home ballpark with their fans supporting them, like the Orioles fans have supported the Orioles here the first 2 ball games.
Right field, but there's Devereaux. Vizcaíno, out number 2. Incredibly, the wild card team, the Orioles, the team that did not even clinch a wild card berth until Saturday, the day before the season's final game, threatening to go 2 games up on the Cleveland Indians before the series shifts back to Cleveland, which is rather astounding. Last year, Cleveland swept the Boston Red Sox, a division winner themselves, in the first round, before then battling with the Mariners, but finally beating Seattle in 6 games to make the series. Lofton, it's a strike. Lofton is 2 for 4 with a run scored. Albert Bell has done everything today. He started a great defensive play to cut down Cal Ripken at the plate in the 5th inning. His 2-run homer in the 6th inning brought Cleveland back to within a run. But Albert's best efforts may not have been enough today. Zeal very shallow at 3rd. 2 down in the 9th. This should do it. Palmeiro. It's 2 games to nothing for the wild card Orioles as we head to Cleveland. John Miller, Joe Morgan. What a wild one here at Camden Yards, and a rather unexpected conclusion. The Orioles are ahead of Cleveland 2 games to none. Now, stand by. We're going to switch you to Dodger Stadium. Bottom of the 3rd inning, Braves and Dodgers.